I was gonna go with something like reunited and it feels
I know,
so
dude.
good.
I know.
Hey, what's good,
I know.
everyone?
We're back in studio.
Back in the studio, everyone.
Dude,
What's
it's been
up?
like a solid month.
Almost.
If not a month and a half.
I was gonna say it's been almost 2 months since both of us have been in the studio.
Yeah, dude.
So hey everybody, welcome Mack and Black again. What is this, number 17, number 18? Mack and Black, guys. You guys know the deal at the beginning of the podcast. Send us a message, chime in. We're back in studio, guys. So feel free to, send us messages. I don't know if we're gonna do call-ins at some point, but we'll give you a shout out if we are doing them.
This is my first
It's okay.
day.
I was gonna say both of us, we got in a little bit, frazzled, but that's why podcasts are so beautiful. You can just kind of roll with it,
True. No, that's true.
So, guys, like we say at the beginning of every one of our podcasts, do us a huge favor. Check us out on iTunes, review us, do all that stuff. Spotify, Google Play, and pretty much anywhere else you go for podcasts, guys. Also, mackandblack.com is the website. You can watch or listen to all of our past episodes on that. You'll also find all the podcast icons on the homepage to subscribe. We're going to be doing YouTube, a bunch of stuff hopefully coming up, so keep an eye on that. Oh, my God, I shouldn't have drank a Monster before I started. Hey, everyone. Lots of football today.
Oh, dude,
Too much football today. We're gonna we're gonna recap the disaster of Thursday night, and then we're gonna get in our week 1 picks for sure because we definitely need to do that. So we'll roll through some of our picks. Definitely gonna have to talk about the Antonio Brown situation. And then some college football, a couple of interesting storylines today. We had the Michigan bums that barely escaped Army, who, is it a rule that Army has to run like the T formation for the rest of their, like, can Army get a better scheme? I'm just saying, I understand Army and Navy, they like run the T formation.
They run
like,
that wishbone. Like
wishbone, kind of like it's the 1940s, and it's like, I get it. You're a run heavy team. Can we like make it a little bit more creative? But we'll get into that later, guys. Clemson and Texas A&M was supposed to be the big matchup of the week, and it looked like Clemson routed Texas A&M. I didn't get to watch most of it because I was watching UFC 242, Khabib versus Poirier. So we'll talk.
Yeah, dude, that pissed me off. Like why? I'm at work.
I was gonna say my man's at work,
and I was counting my drawer before I had to leave.
Yeah,
and I saw the news that Khabib. What did he do? Knock him out?
No, so he choked him out.
Choked him out?
Yeah, choked him out in the third. Yeah,
I couldn't see the whole thing because I was using the calculator on my phone.
Yeah,
but I see Khabib takes out Poirier third round, and I didn't read the rest, and I was like, why would you make this at 3:00 in the afternoon?
You took the words right out of my mouth. We talked about it last week. Last week's card started at 5 a.m. Like, why? Like, okay, here's the thing. And we'll get into this later, too. They're in Abu Dhabi. They're in the Middle East right now.
Okay.
So I get it, but what I'm saying is if you make it late over there, they'll still go to the event, and you'll get better TV. So we'll talk about that because I must have spent 15 minutes on that last week solo. But and then we'll also talk about Masvidal and Diaz being set for UFC 244. In Madison Square Garden on November 2nd. I actually kind of want to go to that fight. We'll talk about that later.
You said it's where?
Madison Square Garden.
And when?
November the 2nd. So it's creeping up, actually. I was thinking they were going to do this in December, but apparently they wanted to make Usman versus Covington for the belt that day, and then Usman and Covington both, I guess, we're shuffling their feet a little bit, and then Diaz and Masvidal just swooped right in and said, "Now we'll take that." And apparently, I was going to save this for later on the show, but apparently Dana White's going to make a BMF belt, baddest motherfucker belt, and they're going to give it out to the winner of the fight that week.
Dude, excuse me, I didn't mean to yell in the mic. Dude, That's like ECW making the
what I said.
FTW belt for Taz.
And then
it's a fake belt at this point.
And then the reporter,
BMF.
The reporter asked, "Well, okay, is he going to defend that belt after?" And he's like, "No, it's just going to be a one-time belt." I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we'll take it. That's fine.
No, that's lame.
That's the UFC taking Diaz being this, just crazy, because he said after the fight, this belt, and everyone was kind of like, Nate, you've been out for 3 years. You don't have a belt. And he's like, the baddest motherfucker belt, So then I guess they're going to capitalize on that. But
my God.
But yeah, Nick, I want to jump right into football because we got so much damn football to talk about.
First off, I want to say Mike's watching the show. He's a big time Michigan fan. He said go blue. Yeah, I would say go blue too. If my team's ass just almost got upset for the second time in 10 years by a team you should have blown out.
Nick,
and let me say this too. He sat there and said, if you think that Army isn't a good team, you don't know stuff about college football.
They're not a good
team. Michigan is a powerhouse against an Army team that just happens to have a football program.
Yeah.
They went into the big house and almost upset you. I would not flex about anything for the next week until they play.
That's like the Packers fans who are flexing after winning on Thursday night, like, yeah.
And I'm glad you got into that because I got a lot to say about
but
that.
you know what, actually, Nick?
Idiots.
I want to almost switch gears here and get right into college football, and let's get this over with because, quite frankly, there's not much to go through today. No. I was watching that Michigan game in the background because that was really the only good game that was on at that point.
Right.
And I was watching early in the UFC 242 card and watching both at the same time. And I swear to God, all I could think of was our conversation like a week or two before that, where I was just like, how does Michigan keep convincing people that somehow they're going to be a top 10 team?
Oh, I know. Dude, I know.
It's unbelievable that this team, and that just goes to show you, a fan of theirs, they're the number 7 team in the country. And the best thing he has to say about the game today is, well, Army's a pretty darn good team. They're not. They run the ball 70 times a game and literally run the same, they ran the same play essentially 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
And it's like, Michigan's like, I wonder what they're gonna do. Listen, Michigan, they're a good program. They get good players to go there, but the fact that people still are convinced that Jim Harbaugh can put together this team and make them a top 10 or even a playoff team, because some people are talking about them in the playoff mix, I don't see it.
A, they can't beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
B, they can't even win the Big Ten, let alone beat Ohio State.
Right.
So I don't understand. I was thinking about this at work earlier when I saw all the hoopla and I kind of saw some of the highlights because I wasn't able to watch the game. But my problem with Michigan is the fact of, and I think I mentioned this when I came back from New York feeling like death, and I'll mention it again, where I don't understand, how long is the leash for Jim Harbaugh?
Right.
We saw Brady Hoke get fired because he couldn't beat Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
We saw, Lloyd Carr get fired because he couldn't beat Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Harbaugh has been the coach of Michigan for now 3 years now, and he can't beat Ohio State.
Right.
My thing with Jim Harbaugh is I've always believed this, and I believe this to this day, that Jim Harbaugh needs to go back to the NFL.
Right.
I think he got an unfair shake in San Francisco because he was actually coaching these fools hard, and they got their diapers wet, and they're like, I can't play for this guy. He's too hard on this. So San Francisco sided with the players instead of a coach that made you relevant for the first time in double-digit years by all he did was take you to 3 consecutive championship games, and one of them led to 1 pass interference not being called to a Super Bowl championship, and you got rid of him, and you haven't been jack squat since. Meanwhile, Jim Harbaugh, because Michigan wanted him so bad, and he wanted to continue coaching, he went there. My advice to Jim Harbaugh, get out while you can.
Yeah.
I feel that there's going to be some good NFL jobs. Look, I would stop hating on the Washington Redskins if Jim Harbaugh took over that job and they fired Jay Gruden's fat, stupid ass out of there.
I don't understand how he still has a job.
God, I don't either, and they're going to be so bad.
Yeah, they're going to be terrible.
But my point is that I think Jim Harbaugh needs to get out of the college ranks. I think he's better than the college ranks, and the more that he keeps coaching Michigan and Ohio State keeps beating him and they keep underachieving, I feel like his stock goes lower.
Yeah.
So please, for the love of God, go to the NFL and get out of Michigan, please.
I think he thought the difference between coaching in the NFL and college was like less than it actually is. Like, what you have to do in college to coach a program like Michigan is so much more significant than what you have to do. Even the ginormous amount of work it takes to be an NFL coach, to be a college coach at a powerhouse, quote unquote powerhouse college football team like that is tough. It's tough to do. That's a lot of meeting with players, doing the scouting, aspects as well as the game planning aspects. There's really no off season for those guys. So yeah, I think it's probably about time for him to get back. And listen, that kid Patterson, their quarterback, I don't care what anyone says. Army's defense is not that good. Like you've got to be able to make the type of throws that are going to get you yardage and or big plays against a secondary. Really, all Army could do was stop the run at a decent clip. That's pretty much all they were good at. So,
right.
Yeah, I don't know what he was. Did we have a response or anything?
Oh, yeah, no, there's most definitely.
Tell us about the response before we move on here.
Let's see. The question was, what was Army's record last year? Alex said that they were 11-2. The only two teams they lost to were Oklahoma and Duke. Like he said, Army.
Who do they beat? That's what I'm more.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm more. They beat the Navy for the first time in how long? Since. What famous quarterback went there? One of the OGs. It's gonna drive me nuts.
OGs?
Yeah, and I think he threw for Dallas.
You talk about
it's gonna drive me nuts.
We're gonna have to.
Yeah, hey, can somebody do that research for me? Yeah, because I'm about to lose my mind. And, I can see the quarterback, the name's on my tongue, but the brain and the mouth are not colliding right now. But my thing again,
I know who you're talking about too.
You know, is it Staubach?
Literally, both of us got it at the same second.
Yeah, dude,
Roger Staubach.
Yeah, Roger Staubach, dude. The Navy or the Army hadn't beat the Navy since Roger freaking Staubach was the freaking quarterback, and they finally did it last year. So, it's like Army had a good year, but again, if you're comparing Michigan to Army, it's like comparing the '96 Bulls to the 76ers that was trusting the process.
Oh, right.
It is an unfair advantage for a team that almost set the record for most losses in the NBA to one of the greatest teams that have ever played on God's green earth.
And we talked about how college football works. If you have a cushy schedule and it's kind of crazy because teams can still basically put their own schedule together, which I think is kind of dumb, but no, Army, listen, we're not saying that they're not, but if you're Michigan and you're the number 7 team in the country, you shouldn't be talking about how good Army is. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Let's just leave it at that.
Like Alex right now said, Air Force, Hawaii, Navy, Eastern Michigan. These are teams that Army beat.
Wait. I'm asking you, what good teams did they beat?
Yeah, that's what he's saying. There's no team that's worth mentioning.
None of them are. Yeah. No. Listen, if none of those programs have even sniffed anything short of go down that list for me again one more time.
Air Force.
Okay.
Hawaii.
No.
Navy, Eastern Michigan. That's the only 4 that he mentioned. But
man, I'm sorry. I'm gonna need more than that.
And Sean says that Michigan was favored by 22.5.
Unbelievable. And listen, dude. Again, it's a bad sign. I'm gonna get into this. It's and we might as well get into it right now. I'm sorry to transition early, but
before you do that,
please.
Mike asked me, how do I feel about the Noles? They look a lot better. I hope they look a lot better.
Yeah.
Jesus, they freaking lost to Boise State. They didn't score a point in the second half.
Tell us about that because we didn't get into that last week.
So here's what trips me out.
Yeah.
I watched that entire game.
Mm-hmm.
What drove me nuts was the play calling in the second half.
Yeah.
There was one time where Florida State flubbed when they had a fumble. There was 2 nulls on it. Both of them tried to pick it up, and Boise State managed to recover it.
Yeah.
That set us back. Then twice, 2 play calling situations. One, Florida State was on their own 30. Instead of running the ball while they still had a lead to try and run it out because Cam Akers actually had himself a decent day, they threw 3 deep passes with James Blackman. I was like, okay, that doesn't make sense. Then in the final drive on 3rd and 5, instead of just taking their time to set up, they run an option run that got them -4 yards. Do you have to get it to the end zone?
Right.
Like, why would you run that play?
Yeah.
Like, it was terrible. So that happened. Then everyone wanted to get on Willie Taggart. Like, and I'm not on that bandwagon because the guys need to execute. The defense had to get better. James Blackman had to make better reads. Guys had to get open.
Yeah.
It just was a complete disaster. So you're playing Louisiana Monroe.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, I forgot my tablet because I wanted to watch the game. And then I thought to myself, why the hell am I going to waste my time?
Yeah.
It's Louisiana Monroe.
Yeah, and if you're Florida State, why not play Louisiana Monroe first? Like, put them number 1 on your – like, I used to be a big hater of those tune-up games, but now I'm big on them. Like, okay, Boise State is not exactly going to be a powerhouse themselves, but they're a pretty decent program.
Okay, here we go. This was Army's wins. Thanks to Alex for sending me this.
Thanks,
This is
Alex.
Army's wins last year.
Yeah.
Liberty, Hawaii,
Okay.
Buffalo,
Okay.
San Jose State,
Okay.
Miami of Ohio, Eastern Michigan,
Sure.
the Air Force, Lafayette,
Yeah.
Colgate, Army, the Navy, and then they beat Houston.
Okay. Okay, there's literally one program on that, and that's Houston.
Wow, they put up 70 on Houston. Am I reading this right?
That might-
They put up 7. It was 70-14 against Houston. That had to be a bowl game,
I was gonna say it
That
must,
had to
if
be a
it,
bowl
if
game.
they're last on the list too, then
and that
certainly.
had to be what got Major Applewhite fired.
Oh
That he
yeah,
just
yeah.
Gave up 70 points to the Army.
I forgot at that point. A lot of their best guys were sitting out. Remember, didn't people give Ed Oliver shit for sitting out of that?
And I think one of those games was when the whole coat incident.
Oh, that's right, where he wouldn't give him a coat. He wouldn't let him
He
wear
was
a
wearing
coat.
a coat, and for some
yeah,
reason
he
he's
said
like,
no.
if you're not
It's
playing,
for
you don't
only
wear
for
it."
active players. Fuck off. Yeah,
That's why Major Applewhite has no job.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, I'm sorry. Thank you to whoever sent those wins to us. I'm sorry.
My boy Alex. He
Yeah.
does the Arch Rivals podcast.
Hey,
with me,
thanks,
so yeah,
Alex.
dude.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's a big no from me, man. I mean, there's a bunch of Mack teams, a couple SWAC teams on that. I'm not really ready to crown Army as anything other than, a mid-level college football team. And when I say mid-level, you have to keep in consideration how many college football teams there are, guys.
Yeah.
So again, let's not get crazy. Michigan, definitely disappointed to a certain extent, but they escaped.
Yeah,
I'll give them that.
Alex said it was the Armed Forces Bowl. Mike's letting me know that Florida State's only up by 10. I know they're having another second half collapse. I don't know what's going on.
They'll still take the
They'll
win.
still take the win.
They'll
Yeah,
take
dude,
the
I'm not
win.
worried.
All right. Well, thanks for that, guys. I need to transition into this Bear stuff so we can.
Shout out to Sean. He said, "Love you guys. Go Chiefs."
Thank you, Sean.
Tyreek's
Appreciate
about
it.
to spend like Friday Night Lights tomorrow. My boy Todd Rosenfeld, who I do the Arch Rival podcast with, is watching right now.
Shout
He's
out,
a
man.
Chiefs fan as well.
Yeah.
Ricky's watching too. All the fellas I do the podcast
What's
with.
good, everyone? Hey, thanks for tagging along on this one. So Nick, I'm sure we both saw the same game on Thursday night. Disappointing game for the Bears, specifically the offense. Matt Nagy,
Man, dude.
really, really terrible game from the offense. Dude, Trubisky was terrible. Here's the thing about the game, okay? And I said this 1,000 times, and people gave me so much shit for it. I kept saying about how, listen, Bears fans, temper your expectations and understand what this league is. This league is a league of adjustments. And I said it 1,000 times. The league has a year of tape on Nagy now. And this whole BU garbage that Nagy puts on, where it's like, do whatever you want to do. It's like, all right, I get it, but have success with it. And the fact of the matter is, Trubisky was put in terrible positions time after time. Yeah. Every single time he did something right, they never went back to it. He rolled. I'm just going to give a few examples of why Matt Nagy still has a lot to prove. You're up 3-0.
Right.
Third and 1, and Cordero Patterson is in the backfield.
Oh yeah.
You have Cordero Patterson, a wide receiver, who's played maybe 100 snaps in his whole life as a running back. You have him in on 3rd and 1 in your own territory, ready to basically get points.
Yep.
In your enemy's territory, rather. So what I'm saying is, you try and get cute there and have a play, and you lose 3 yards, and next thing you know, you're not necessarily in field goal range. And I think either they punted or that's the one that they went for it on 4th down and lost and turned it over. But either way, they got no points out of that.
Right.
And then what happens? The Packers get down. I will say this: that Bears defense is everything is advertised.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Other than maybe 5 plays in the whole damn game, that Bears defense was tenacious.
And the 5 plays you're talking about had to be the touchdown drive.
Yeah, one of them was the Jimmy Graham touchdown. One of them was what led to the Jimmy Graham touchdown, that long 30-yarder. And then they had another couple runs by Aaron Jones late in the 4th quarter that really sealed the deal.
Yeah, Paul Thomas III, I call him PT3, says
PT3.
Nagy's play calling didn't help Mitch much, or didn't help Mitch at all.
No, it was terrible.
Yeah, and I was when we did the podcast.
Yeah.
I put the Bears on the biggest pedestal ever because I had no faith in the defense of the Green Bay Packers.
Mm-hmm. And we know how good that defense is, And
and the jury's still out. Because I don't know if Green Bay's defense was just that good or if the Bears' offense was just that bad. Because I can't think of how many times I kept saying, Mitch, throw the ball. Throw the ball. As a matter of fact, I was talking about the game on Friday when I was at work.
Yeah.
And I said that there was one in particular play when I'm like, you know what? I don't know if Mitch is just rusty because he didn't play in the preseason.
We'll talk about that 100%.
Or I don't know what the problem is.
Yeah.
But I want to say this had to have happened in the 3rd quarter. And Mitch tries to throw a ball. I think it was Cordero Patterson, and the ball either he dropped it or it got tipped. Yeah. And it was on like 3rd and 7 or something like that. 3rd and 7, 2nd and 7, 3rd and 7. Regardless of it, Collinsworth says 5 seconds after the play that Mitch had a dude wide open up the middle if he would have just looked to his left. Yeah. So clearly I rewind the game.
Yeah.
And without missing a beat, I want to say it was Allen Robinson.
I remember that play.
Right down the middle, wide open.
Wide open, yeah.
This is now the 2nd year in a row that Mitchell Trubisky has missed a guy wide open down the middle. In a crucial
spot, yeah.
He did that mess last year against Green Bay. Yeah. When was it Trey Burton?
I think it was a Dolphins game, I think. Yeah.
No. It was against Green Bay.
Oh, yeah, you're right. And he was wide open in the back of the end zone. That's right. You're right.
And he's looking left and he tried to throw it to Tariq
And people made the excuse of, he didn't want to fit into a tight space. He was wide open that time, and this Allen Robinson one was even as more egregious. For sure.
So I'm thinking so because I was watching the game with my mom, and she was so mad because Matt Nagy decided to not play Mitchell Trubisky in the preseason because you're scared he's going to get hurt.
Dude.
Which is a bitch move because you're playing a sport where people are going to get hurt.
Your mom hit it right on the head because I was watching the game with a bunch of buddies, which I don't usually do.
Right.
I like to watch my Bears games alone. I'm just like that. I'm crazy about the game, and I watched it with friends this time because, it's a festive time of the year and you want to have fun. But all we said to each other the whole time was, first of all, what's going on with this play calling?
Yep.
They abandoned the run.
Yep.
They really weren't creative. Like this whole thing about Matt Nagy being creative, you didn't see it.
No.
Where's the creative? If you think putting Cordero Patterson on the field as a running back on 3rd and 1 is creative, I've got news for you. I can do that too.
Right.
I could put an offensive lineman back there. That's creative, No, we're not doing it. And, here's another thing. I have a buddy. He actually does charting for PFF. Math, Pro Football Focus.
Yes.
And, he basically has a side gig doing charting with them, which is essentially just tracking, doing some advanced metrics tracking on receivers. And he said he looked into Mitch Trubisky's numbers last year, and he said by far Mitch Trubisky had, I think, what is called danger throws, which is essentially throws that either hit the defender in the hands or are closer to the defender than they are your receiver.
Right.
And he, by far, had the most of those last year. And you have to take this into consideration. He didn't have a terrible season last year. Had an okay season, had 5 or 6 really good games, and it padded his stats a little bit.
Yeah.
But when you look deeper
like
on
6 TDs against our
exactly. I was going to say, he had a couple of
large
large games that really padded his stats. And another real big thing that really ended up making me mad was this preseason thing, because the whole reasoning for the preseason thing was we want to stay healthy. We know who we are. We know what we can be. But what I saw on that field was a third-year quarterback who was in his second full year as a starter,
right,
who didn't play one meaningful snap in preseason.
Right.
And I have to be honest with you, Nick. I am not as discouraged as I think I should be.
Right.
I think there's a lot of people who have a little bit more reality in the situation who are thinking, man, maybe it's time to hit the panic button.
Right.
I'm not hitting the panic button at all right now.
Right.
That defense is nasty. They're going to get after the passer. They're going to stop the run. And I think they're going to get turnovers eventually. This is what happened during that Packers game. Aaron Rodgers has been prepping for this game for a long time.
True.
And he knows this defense a little bit better now after those 2 games last season, where, again, essentially for 6 out of 8 quarters last year, the Bears dominated the Packers.
Yes.
So the real big thing is Aaron Rodgers came ready, and he came ready to do whatever it took. He was flipping these little, it's almost as if like
shovel pass.
He was almost just a 1 second ahead of everything.
Yep.
Even like early in the first quarter, it was 3-0. Mack, almost looks like he has a free shot on him, and then the offensive lineman holds him just a little bit, and he gets past him.
Yeah.
And he ends up basically only getting sacked when it could have been a touchdown for the Bears.
Right.
So I'm not ready to hit the panic button, but man, Mitch was bad, and Matt Nagy has a lot of splaining to do, my friend.
Yeah,
that's tough game planning.
And the thing is, with Chicago, it doesn't get easier because now you got to go to Denver against your old DC,
who knows you really
well, and now you're going to have to face. Because think about it, Mitchell Trubisky got sacked 5 times in that game
by a subpar. I mean, let's not get crazy about
again.
This Packers
the jury's
defense.
out, right? I'll give him credit for the way they played on Thursday. You know, you can't like hate on facts and results like the way they played. However, at the same time, I'm still got the jury out on that defense.
Yeah.
However, I don't need a jury out on Denver's defense.
No,
when you
really
have
good.
a former defensive player of the year in Von Miller, you have maybe another Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, and that defense is going to be insane, and it's got Fangio's stamp on it. So if you're right, if Nagy does not fix points, because a lot of Bears fans are saying, well, we lost the game last year too. You scored more than 3 points, and you looked much better last year.
And we dominated for freaking majority of the game last year.
At least 2.5 quarters.
2.5 quarters.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Here's what else. First off, Ricky says that, hold on, I'm being told that Florida State's giving up this lead.
Oh, my goodness.
It is 31-21, 13-22 in the fourth.
They'll be
even
good.
though we were favored to win the game by 23 points.
I don't.
But I'll take the W. I'll take the dub.
Yeah.
Ricky says that Cordarrelle Patterson did play a lot of running back. He was a hybrid back.
He played
that Belichick used him that way.
He played. I looked it up. He played 100+ snaps at running back.
Right.
That's fine. He's not a guy that should be on the field. Ricky, I understand what you're saying. He's played running back. He's not a guy you put in on 3rd and 1 when you need a first down. Okay? He's a wide receiver who's a versatile guy, and if you watch him play running back for the Patriots, a lot of stretches, a lot of plays that were not short yardage plays. They were like, okay, it's 1st and 10, 2nd and 8. We'll get this guy a stretch and let him, make a cut or two and get down the field. So fine, he's played running back, but why is he in on 3rd and 1? And why is Mike Davis playing more than David Montgomery?
Oh yeah, I want to know about that too.
It's like you're gonna put Mike Davis in just because you signed him to the deal. It's almost like you're like, we signed him, like, what are we gonna not play him?
And they swear that like Mike Davis is like this great pass catcher out of the backfield.
So the reason why nobody's heard of him before this year, guys.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say that.
And so let me say this. I kind of want to vert over to Green Bay.
Yeah. Because
you said something earlier. Packer fans are all of a sudden trying to flex because they beat the Bears as their rival.
It's
but
cute.
I would calm down for a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
And the main reason that I think that people should calm down has to deal with Aaron Rodgers. If you were in any way impressed with Aaron Rodgers' arm strength in that game, it was terrible.
Yeah.
And shout out to my boy Mark Lemon because he said something. He was like, damn, can Aaron Rodgers not throw a ball further than 50 yards?
I don't think
Case in point, that Hail Mary that he threw missed the end zone by 10 yards.
Yeah, and he put a nice little, he put everything he had,
into
that.
Bro.
Yeah.
That pass catch that he threw to Scaldis
Valdez-Scantling,
thank you, was short. And that throw that he put to Jimmy Graham was not on point.
And a terrible throw. It was like a lollipop throw.
Man, I thought that ball was going to get picked off.
Me too.
And just because Jimmy Graham's 6'5" against a 5'11" defender, he bailed Aaron Rodgers out.
Yeah.
I was like, that was not a great throw. And, I love Chris Collinsworth to death, but I think he was wrong thinking, oh, man, that's an Aaron Rodgers throw.
Loves Rodgers,
no, bro, that was not an Aaron Rodgers throw. Because outside of that drive, Aaron Rodgers looked like pure absolute shit the rest of the way.
All he was savvy. He was getting rid of the ball the way that you want a game manager to, not Aaron Rodgers. Okay, listen, I'll give him credit. Here's the thing about the Packers. I'm not going to take away them taking the win. You got to give them credit for taking that win on the road. You're against the favorite and the favorite for the division and the division winner last year. But did Aaron Rodgers win you that game? Hell no.
No.
Mike Pettin, the defensive coordinator, that guy won you the game because he called a damn good game against Trubisky.
He did.
He did a damn good job of, one thing I kept mentioning was the Packers were playing defense to discourage the Bears from running the ball.
Right.
Because they saw what happened early. David Montgomery, man, that guy's shifty. He makes 7-yard runs look like 15, 20-yard runs because he's about to get hit by 2 guys, makes a nice cut, and then falls forward, and all of a sudden a 3-yard gain turns into a 7-yard gain.
Yep.
So, I get what people are saying. You got to work Montgomery in. You can't give the guy 20 touches in the first game. First of all, you drafted him pretty high.
Yeah, third round pick?
Third round pick.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, people, I think we traded up to get him.
I think so.
So you valued him highly, and you said he was going to be a part of the offensive game plan. And next thing you know, you basically go away from him, and Mike Davis is in even on passing downs. I didn't understand that. I thought the play calling was atrocious. And that is really what really scares me about this game.
I was gonna ask you this question because I know you're the Bears fan.
Yes, sir.
And this name kept popping out every time I saw Tariq Cohen touch the ball in a running back situation, not catching it in a running back situation. Did the Bears miss Jordan Howard? And the reason why I asked that is I feel Jordan Howard kind of in a lot of these games set the table for Tariq Cohen.
He softened the defense.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To kind of get Tariq Cohen, because every time I saw Tariq Cohen touch the ball in a running back situation, I was like, why?
Yeah, and it was also he didn't look comfortable really grabbing the ball from the backfield.
So I'm thinking if you drafted Montgomery for this reason, why are you using Tariq Cohen? Because if I'm not mistaken, the first run play the Bears ran, they tried to run that sweep,
Yeah,
toss.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you can't run that in the first
And then
play.
I think they I think whoever did it dropped it or something. Listen,
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna rephrase what you're saying because you're right in a way.
Okay.
But it wasn't Jordan Howard that they missed.
Okay.
It was that part of their game plan. Because, okay, even previous to Nagy, the first year that we had Cohen, you had Howard there to really soften the defense up because they ran traditional, just pound the ball in between the tackles and maybe occasional stretches outside the tackles. And what that did was really set the table for Cohen to do stuff out of the backfield. Now, what Nagy and Pace and the Bears basically said was, we don't value Howard in this system, and he's not as good as he could be, so we don't really want to take another risk on him when he's going to be a free agent. Fine. Now, you go out and you get Mike Davis. You go out and you get David Montgomery. You prioritize both of those guys because we didn't make a ton of moves this year.
Right.
You know, Mike Davis was one of the few free agent, and Clinton Dix were one of the few free agent pickups the Bears made that were of significance. So you go out and get those guys, and you don't incorporate them in the game plan at all.
Right.
You know, especially in the third quarter. You know, it was so enraging. The Bears were playing like they were down by 17, and it's like you're down by 7 points. Get one good drive together, figure it out, and make it happen. And listen, it goes without saying that Mitch making a bad throw in the red zone, getting picked off by Adrian Amos was, you know, that was the nail in the coffin. But to me, man, I think the Bears, they've got a good opportunity next week to come back and beat up a pretty good defense in the Broncos.
Right.
And, you know, do what they did last year. Take that L, sit on it, go back into the preparation room, because now they've got a week and a half, Nick. They've got a week and a half now, 10-plus days to rest up, get ready for Denver, and then we play the Redskins, I think, after. So we're looking pretty nice, and we're going to play the Raiders this year. We're going to play the Giants this year. So listen, Bears fans, I know most of you guys are idiots. But
I've said that.
I'm so sorry, but you guys are. But most of us, I should say, most of us are idiots. I'll go ahead and say it that way. Most of us are idiots because I'm a little bit of an idiot too. But let's not jump ship right now. You know, I had a friend who was at that party who was like, I hate listening to, you know, Chicago sports radio after the Bears lose. And I'm the exact opposite. I love it.
Hey,
it's entertainment for me.
When the
Cubs,
Doug Buffon was alive.
Oh, I know. R.I.P. Doug Buffon. I know. And the way that him and who's the other?
Was it Ed
O'Reilly? Yeah. So here's the thing about the Bears fans. You know, and I think it's just Chicago in general, man. We're fickle in such a weird way. Like, even just looking at the Cubs fans this year who are like, the Cubs are done. You guys can't even, you know, beat. And it's like, guys, you know, it's a good team. You know, this is the way that sports is. Sports is losing games and figuring ways to win games.
Yep.
So stop with this dramatic, oh my God, the Packers aren't even. First of all, the Packers aren't supposed to be that great, but the Packers played in the preseason. They were ready to go. I'm not going to talk shit about them at all in that aspect. I have questions about their player personnel and the level of talent that they have in the locker room, certainly. But I will never, ever say that team wasn't well prepared, because they were.
Yeah.
They didn't turn the ball over.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers, even though he had a terrible start, ended up being efficient at the end of the game.
True.
So he wasn't Aaron Rodgers, but he won you the game, and he said it best after the game. The defense won the game for them, and next week they'll go in and try and prepare and be better. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm crushed or anything. It sucks. When you think your team's going to win the Super Bowl and then they only muster up 3 points for the first game, it's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, I'm a little bit exhausted about thinking about that, quite frankly, because it's like, at this point, man, let's just figure out what the game plan is for next week and execute on that. Nick, let's get into our picks. Can we do that?
Sure. You want me to do this intro?
Yeah, I was gonna say. You know what? I know you got to read. Go right ahead, my friend.
All right. All the services that you need under one roof. You started a business because you believe in what you do. Let Intrinsic Marketing bring your product or service to the market. That's what they do best. Intrinsic has the services, tools, and expertise to make it happen all in one place.
Yes, sir.
Services include web design, social media, copywriting, targeted ads, and much more. Don't take our word for it. See for yourself. Visit intrinsicchicago.com. That's intrinsic, INTRINSIC, Chicago.com for more info.
Guys, tomorrow is the first week of NFL Sundays.
Todd wants to know,
Yes,
what
sir.
do you guys think about the Boo Birds coming out early in that game?
That's just Chicago, man. Like,
They were mad, dude.
Yeah, I would be too.
Obviously we're from the area,
Yeah.
and the whole place was hyped. Everybody had the Bear stuff on. You've waited all the the hot months of the summer
Hell yeah.
for this to happen.
Yeah.
And then you come here, and then you're like, man, this is a Super Bowl caliber team, and this is where Mitch is going to take that next step, and this and that and everything else. And you only scored 3 points.
Yeah.
And it's not like the boos weren't warranted.
They were.
When you're 4th and 8 and you run a jet sweep you get 2 yards,
God.
fans have every right to boo. If it's 3rd and 40 because your left tackle
I forgot about that. It was 3rd and 40.
All 3 penalties was on him. 2 holding and illegal hands to the face.
Yeah.
And it cost him 30 yards. They have every right to boo.
Yeah.
When Mitchell Trubisky hangs on to the ball for too goddamn long and
Way too long.
doesn't understand that, hey, maybe I have better wheels than these 300-pound defensive linemen, and he won't either throw it or run it to make things better, they have every right to boo.
But you know what?
I have nothing against them.
I will give the Packers this credit, though, Nick. They had their game plan set to make sure that Mitch couldn't run. They did a great job of that.
Yep.
They made sure, because they watched, trust me, they watched tape last year of his good games. Yep. And in his good games, he was running all over the place. And that's why before we move on, that's why I was really upset by the game planning. Because, coaching, we've talked about this before. It's about your ability to make these adjustments.
Yep.
Whether it's in between weeks, in between plays, in halftime, in between quarters. You have to be able to make adjustments on the fly. So what happens is Mitch is struggling. Then next thing you know, you roll him right, and he makes a nice 15-yard throw to the sideline to Allen Robinson, and all of a sudden he looks like kind of like a guy in rhythm. And then they don't roll him out one more time after that.
Yep.
To me, this kind of goes back to the whole Jay Cutler era where everyone was clamoring for Cutler to be out on the bootleg because he had so much success with the bootleg, wasn't throwing interceptions there, and the Bears team refused to do that. And I'm seeing some of that with Mitch, where it's they want to see development so desperately from him in the pocket that they're almost throwing him into the fire and saying, all right, good luck. It's he's a young quarterback, man. This is a guy who's in his full year as a starter. You got to work with his strengths. Right. Look at what the Baltimore Ravens are doing with Lamar Jackson right now. They feel hamstrung. Trust me. They're listen, we don't feel like we can do everything we want to do with this guy. But what they can do with that guy, they're going to be good. I'm telling you right now, that Baltimore offense, we know the defense is always going to be good.
Yeah.
But that Baltimore offense, he's going to learn how to slide eventually. And he's not going to get hurt, hopefully. And we're going to see them eventually win some games with his legs and that offensive line. So, man, I definitely understand where the Boo Birds are coming from.
Yep.
Those are guys guys and gals who paid for tickets. Trust me, this game has been hyped up ever since the schedule came out. So, I think, and listen, anytime you live in New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, and, I wouldn't even say any California teams, but maybe a Dallas or something like that.
Dallas, most definitely, because there's always high expectations.
So high expectations.
Yeah.
And when you're in those cities, if you're a player and you're why are they booing us? You're in the wrong city.
Yep.
All right? Just, call your agent and find the next time that you can get out of there. But let's get into picks, Nick, because we've got a ton of stuff to get into. So we've got 13 games tomorrow. It's the first Sunday, NFL Sunday of the year. I'm super excited. We got 13 games tomorrow, and then we actually have 2 on Monday night, as it usually is on the opening week. So let's get into the 12 o'clock window. First, the first game that we have on the slate is Tennessee versus Cleveland at Cleveland there. Man, it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, Cleveland's a pretty heavy favorite at home there.
Dude, Monroe just came back and took the lead on Florida State.
No, they didn't. What's the score?
It's 34-31 right now.
How much time left?
7:44 in the fourth. But once again, the second half,
Collapse.
Florida State
Wow.
is being outscored 27-7, dude.
Not
they
a good
gotta
sign.
do something.
Oh man, well, I'm happy we don't have the tablet in a way, because then you'd be just freaking out
dude,
right now. We
I'd
wouldn't
be
be able
so
to do our
pissed.
show. Yeah, but Nick, sorry, the first game on the slate is Tennessee at Cleveland. Cleveland is pretty heavily favored there. I'm pretty sure both of us probably like Cleveland in this game.
Easily. I mean, there's really no need for us to get deep into this one.
Yeah.
Dude, Tennessee, I don't even know what direction this team's going into.
Yeah.
Because you have Mariota, who's now on his fifth-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, fifth
year of the deal.
It's in the fifth year of the deal.
I believe it's an option year. Yeah.
And then you got then you traded for Ryan Tannehill. And your biggest free agent pickup was really Adam Humphries from Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And so I really think that a lot of their offense is going to be relied heavily on Derrick Henry.
And Deion Lewis,
And Deion Lewis.
Yeah.
And, Cleveland really got better on their defense. We saw them. They tore Tampa Bay up in the preseason.
Yeah.
They really tore up Washington in the preseason. So I really think that this defense is for real.
Oh, for
and
sure,
I don't think Tennessee offensively is really capable. So I don't see how Cleveland doesn't win this game.
Yeah, you took that right out of my mouth, because I just don't necessarily see I don't necessarily see Tennessee as a first half team in general.
Yeah.
And then they tend to play a little bit better in the second half, weirdly enough. But yeah, I don't see enough there, especially to win in the dog pound. I don't see it.
Right.
Next game on that 12 o'clock window, Baltimore against another one of the most atrocious teams and franchises in pretty much all sports at this point, the Miami Dolphins at Miami. The Ravens are heavy favorites right now. But Dolphins basically are clearing house. They're pretending like they're not. They're pretending like they're not tanking right now. But they trade Laramie Tunsil, one of the best left tackles in the game, and also trade Kenny Stills after that whole Jay-Z and the thing with the Trump and their owner. I think Dolphins have made it pretty clear what they're looking to do this year, evaluate young talent, and hopefully get a nice pick for next year. And again, they got 2 first-round picks out of Houston for Tunsil and Stills.
Yep.
Okay, it sucks. You lose Tunsil. He's a really good left tackle, but man, two first-round picks and a couple of other mid-round picks too. Not a terrible deal, considering after they bounced back from that Clowney deal Houston did.
Yeah.
I guess not a bad deal. But yeah, I think Baltimore is going to take this one pretty heavily. I see Lamar Jackson having a huge game.
I do too. And, Lamar Jackson, me and Ricky, we were watching him do that touchdown run against Green Bay, I want to say, in the preseason.
Oh, yeah, his cut, the one where he cut
yeah,
misses the
and I'm going to
defender,
tell you what, Ricky thinks that that's kind of dangerous. He feels like if Lamar gets hit one time, it's over. I don't think so, because Michael Vick was a big-time scrambling quarterback, and I think if the arm, I don't think is ever going to match the legs.
No.
But if Lamar Jackson can be efficient throwing the football, I'm telling you, he's going to be the most dangerous dual threat quarterback that's out there. But I'm with you, dude. Miami is going in another direction. And the guy that I almost feel sorry for is going to be Josh Rosen.
Yeah.
Because what if Miami does tank? You got Jalen Hurts, who had a huge game on Monday night. Then you got
Tua.
the kid, you got Tua coming out of Alabama.
Gilbert out of Oregon.
You got him coming out. This quarterback's class is supposed to be so good this year.
Yeah.
And now here you are, Josh Rosen. You went from being the 10th overall pick. You said that you got 9 teams you got to chip over.
Yeah.
And you've been traded in your first year, and you could be out if Miami decides to go quarterback again.
That sucks, man. It just shows you how quickly shit can change for you in the NFL, dude. Like, you can go from a top 10 pick to the next year a backup on a team that traded you for peanuts, basically. So
starting and backing up a 38-year-old journeyman quarterback
who more than likely won't play more than 8 weeks this year.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
think so.
I got Baltimore.
Yeah, me too. I got Baltimore big in that game. And you know what? I want to talk a little bit about your buddy's point on Lamar Jackson. I think, Nick, we've become so we've become so inundated with scrambling quarterbacks getting hurt in their, in their early twilight of their career, and just going, that's never going to work. And they said it about Vic.
They did.
You remember what they said about Vic? Good, even that one year where he beat the Packers in the playoffs.
Yes.
And he ran all over them, and everybody on ESPN was like, "Cool, we'll see how that works out for you in your career." And we saw how that worked out for him pretty damn well.
Right.
So I see Lamar Jackson in the same light. He just needs to learn how to slide. Yeah. He needs to learn how to mitigate damage. He's never gonna not take hits. You're gonna take hits in the NFL, guys. Let's stop this notion that scramblers have a higher percentage of getting hit. No, scramblers are gonna be putting themselves in positions to get hit more. But if you're good at it, you can get out of bounds.
Right.
You can get down. You can not challenge on plays you don't necessarily need to challenge.
Right.
If listen, if Lamar Jackson is gonna try and fight for a yard or two every play, no, that's not gonna work out.
Right.
But if he can be smart and understand what his role is, I don't necessarily think this is gonna be too hard of a season for them anyways, because I think they're gonna really, really scale down the complicated nature of the offense. It's gonna be, okay, Lamar, you're gonna hand the ball off. We're going to run a couple options. We're going to run a couple QB runs, and you're going to run a couple slants here or there to your receivers. And then when teams start to overcommit, we're going to throw one really deep and hope that we can catch one. So to me, that's a pretty decent game plan, and I think Baltimore might surprise some people this year, because people are sleeping on Baltimore because their defense
lost a lot of
defensive help. But it's always like that defense is like a factory for other teams. All they do is just draft players, and then they sit on their bench for 4 years, and then they go sign 4-year, $60 million deals with the Packers or something like that.
The Jets.
Or the Jets, exactly. Yeah. So, next one up on the slate for the 12 o'clock window, Atlanta, the Falcons are in Minnesota. Man, I think Minnesota's pretty heavily favored in this one, I think. And I'm probably going to end up calling an upset in this one. I think, here's my thing with Atlanta. They always play really well offensively early in the season for some reason. They always find a way to score points early in the season. Later in the season, it becomes a little bit more complicated for them, and if they deal with injuries, it's going to be tough. But the Vikings, I had a little bit of a conversation with one of my buddies, because he's like, Minnesota's closer to the Bears than people think. Okay, fine. But we even talked about this in our preview. What happens when Dalvin Cook gets hurt?
Yep.
What happens? Stephon Diggs is already hurt.
Yep.
What happens when Kirk Cousins gets hurt? Yep. What happens when they miss one guy on defense?
Yep.
I'm not necessarily convinced about Minnesota. I'm gonna actually go against the grain a little bit in this one and say if we're doing spreads, I'm gonna go ahead and take whatever points we're gonna give to Atlanta in this one, because I'm sure they're gonna be giving them points on the road.
Yeah. It pains me to say this, but I probably would take Atlanta in this one too.
Yeah.
Did I take Atlanta the other day? I don't think I did. I take that back. I did take Minnesota to win.
Yeah, they're pretty heavily favored.
But I don't think they covered, because Minnesota was favored by, I think it was either 3.5 or 4.5.
Okay, yeah, I would take the points in that.
Yeah,
all day.
I don't think they'll beat them by that. The problem that I have. Here's the thing with Atlanta. Atlanta has to just stay healthy. Julio Jones got that big 3-year, $66 million extension today.
Yeah.
I'm on the fence. My thing with Julio Jones that drives me so up a wall, if we go back 2 years ago, everyone was like, oh my God, Julio Jones is the greatest wide receiver that's in football. Yeah. This man caught 3 touchdown passes against one team twice, and that was Tampa.
Yeah.
He had that big game against Tampa in Atlanta when he caught 200-some yards, had 2 touchdowns, and then in the Thursday night game, he had a touchdown. That was it.
Yeah.
Now, last year, he played a lot better. The yardage was kind of down, but the touchdowns were there that year. My thing with Julio Jones is everyone sees him as this Madden freak, and I don't know. I'm not saying he sucks at receiver. I'm just not buying into the entire hype. Yeah. Would I put him in the top 10, if not top 5?
Yeah,
sure, why not?
Sure, yeah.
Am I saying he's the best? Hell no.
No, that's a tough conversation to have, too. The whole best wide receiver conversation. It's what do you value in a receiver? Because to me, I value consistency. I value consistency to stay on the field is also a part of that. And Julio has a hard time with that. Like, Julio's very hit or miss. Either he has like 180 yards and 10 catches and 2 touchdowns, or seemingly he's got 3 catches for 40 yards.
Right.
So I'm a little bit worried about that, but yeah, I think Atlanta, that's a trap game in the making there against Minnesota, because Minnesota might be flying a little bit high starting the season at home.
Ricky said, question is, I made the point Matt Ryan hasn't won there in years. And he also says Julio had injuries last year.
Yeah, he did.
Julio has
injuries every year. And that's another thing about him is Atlanta must feel really like pressured with that, because any other team might have came back to him and his agent and said, Julio, look at all the games you've missed. And all the games you've been questionable for, and all the games that you've played hurt and didn't play well. So, I get it. You lock up your stars, but that's a massive deal for a wide receiver, Nick.
True.
3 years, $66 million is no effing joke. All right. And you know what? To Ricky's point, I don't know what Matt Ryan's record looks like in Minnesota, but to be fair, I'm not a huge fan of those types of statistics. Like, this whole thing about, like, you don't play well in this specific stadium, I have a hard time substantiating that point. To me, you play on a field, you play on a 100-yard field, and you either play well that day or you don't play well that day.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And I'm not necessarily huge on the fact of, like, you don't play well in Lincoln Financial Field, but you play okay in Arrowhead Stadium. Like, no. Let's just talk about, are you ready to play, prepared, game planned? Okay, let's move on. So the next game we got Buffalo at the Jets in New York. I think they're giving Buffalo 2.5 points on this one. Do you know that? Okay, yeah. So spread or no spread, I'm going to actually go with Buffalo in this one. It pains me to say it because I actually think the Jets are going to be pretty darn good this year. I've said this earlier during our thing. I don't think they'll be a guaranteed playoff team, but I don't think they're getting enough credit for what they did in the offseason, because they did swing and miss a couple of times on some guys. But I liked what Le'Veon Bell said over the offseason. I like his mentality. His mentality is basically, give me the ball 50 times if we have to. Let's do this. Let's make it happen. So I like Sam Darnold. I think he's going to take a step up, hopefully. And I think that defense is not as bad as people are going to think it's going to be, because they've made a couple of additions, and I like Jamal Adams. But I like Buffalo. I think we both like Buffalo this year. I don't know if you like him in this game as much as I do, but I think we both like Buffalo this year, because if Josh Allen can take a step up, they clearly feel good about their running backs because they cut Shady McCoy. So they feel good about Frank Gore. They feel good about Devin Singletary. They feel good about TJ Yeldon. Now, we also talked about in previous games, Cole Beasley is there now.
Yep.
You've got Zay Jones, who's has a footing over there now. They did a pretty good job of getting offensive linemen.
And they signed John Brown over there.
John Brown, yeah. So they've got weapons now, and the defense under Sean McDermott historically has been pretty good. They just, last year was sort of an anomaly for them. They were weird last year. They had weeks where they were losing 30-0, and then the next week they would beat a good team,
Minnesota.
In Minnesota, yeah. So, I actually like the Bills as a sneak in this one. Really, only simply because they play the Jets a lot, and I think they understand what the Jets want to do. But again, the Jets are favored in this one.
Yeah, I'm taking Buffalo as well. Okay. Yeah, I do. I have a huge respect for Buffalo this year, and that's because they drafted the guy that I really wanted Tampa to draft, and that's Ed Oliver. I think Ed Oliver is the real deal. Mm-hmm. I think the problem, the reason why I think he dipped so bad was the simple fact of the whole Houston incident, and he didn't play that much last year, and he was hurt. But when I saw his not his pro day, but his combine,
yeah, my God, he looked like a monster.
And all the comparisons of this man maybe being the next Aaron Donald. I'm thinking, if you're going to bring in Ndamukong Suh, and you already have Vita Vea, and on top of that, you
want to
drafted, and you want to draft, you want to switch 3-4. Could you imagine if you had Oliver, Suh, and Vita Vea on that front?
Wow.
Man, I mean, and I'm not dissing Devin White. I mean, the Bucs needed a linebacker.
And that's a good pick, too.
And it's a good pick.
Yeah.
But I really wanted Ed Oliver. I think Ed Oliver is going to soar in Buffalo. Mm-hmm. And I think Buffalo had a top 5 defense coming out last year, too.
Yeah.
So with that, so you add that big piece into that defense, yes. And as you mentioned, the new pieces that they gave Josh Allen this year.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like you said, if the offensive line can block so he's not running as soon as he snaps the ball, the Jets are going to be in for a very long day, and I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I don't know about the talent level that they brought in at the offensive line, but they made a point to go out and get offensive linemen. You have to give credit to where credit's due for some teams, right? Like, you're not always going to go out and convince the best free agents to come over, right?
Right.
But if you make a point to say, I don't care what I have to do, we need 3 offensive linemen this year, I'm going to go get 3 offensive linemen. And they did that. They have Spencer Long, who I think is a pretty good player from the Redskins. But speak of the devil, one of the most lopsided games I think that will probably happen this week is the Redskins at Philadelphia.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I don't think we have to talk much about this one.
No.
I think Wentz is going to go off in this game.
Yeah.
I have a really good feeling about this Philadelphia defense basically stopping Washington. I think it'll be a slaughter.
Yeah, dude, I'm just trying to figure out what's the over-under amount of games that Jay Gruden's stupid ass is going to be.
He might go 1-15 and still they'll be like, you know what? Maybe we'll give him another year to see how things go.
Hopefully, Daniel Snyder's not that stupid.
He's got to have naked pictures of Daniel Snyder or something.
He's got to have something
like that. Like,
he has to have something.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm taking the Eagles. Plus, I think they're favored 8.5 anyways. So.
Yeah, no, they're gonna be heavily favored and more than likely spank the Redskins. This is one of the more interesting games I think of the week, Nick. The Rams at Carolina.
Yeah.
I really, really like this matchup. We talked about Carolina actually last week, I think, right? Or maybe even the week before, but I really, really like what this matchup means for both of these teams. Mm-hmm. We're going to see, because I think both of us have questions about both of these teams.
Yeah.
I think it's about the Rams. Can they remain consistent on offense? Mm-hmm. And how are they going to adjust on defense? Because their two best, we've talked about it, their 2 best additions this year have been players that other teams let go willingly.
Yep.
Weddle and Matthews.
McCoy.
And no, McCoy, I'm talking about the Rams.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
my bad,
no,
bad,
you're good.
And
no, even the Carolina, we're going to have a lot of answers about Carolina too, because like you said, they basically only made that McCoy. They didn't trade him; he got cut, and then they signed him.
Yep.
But we're gonna have answers about this defense because we talked about it. Basically, it's like, how much does Luke Kuechly have left? How much does this front 4 have left? We know what McCoy looks like. We know what Dontari Poe looks like. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. And this to me has shootout sort of written all over it. Mm-hmm. I think this will be a high-scoring game. I see the Rams taking this one on the road.
Yeah, I see the Rams taking this one on the road as well. My main question is, I think this is the year where we really see if Aaron Donald is really the best player in the league, as many people think they say, because when you look at tape of Aaron Donald last year, I think a lot of people were scared of not so much getting hit by Sue. So Aaron Donald was in a lot of one-on-one situations, which is why I'm so intrigued to see what Todd Bowles does, and we'll talk about them later with Sue in Tampa, with Vea coming in.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald is still technically the defensive end in the 3-4 defense, which means he's going up against guards, and most guards really can't defend a tackle like Aaron Donald. So my thing is this. I'm 50-50 on Cam. I think if they shut down Christian McCaffrey, which is easier said than done.
Sure.
But if they can somehow do that and make Cam throw the ball and run the ball and be MVP Cam, we'll see how that happens, because I think the Rams, even though they're missing a lot of pieces on defense, can still kind of shut him down, because Cam still has, he still got injury issues.
Yeah, for sure.
He hurt himself in the preseason with the ankle injury. And we now going to get to see on how he is with the shoulder injury that really plagued him towards the end of the year.
Yep.
So all that comes into factor. Plus, I think, the Rams, Jared Goff got paid. Ty Gurley's still back there. Cooper Kupp comes back. So the Panthers secondary is definitely going to get tested. Yeah. And I think the Rams will be up to the challenge. So I like the Rams in this game myself.
Yeah, that sounds. And guys, by the way, we are going to be doing call-ins. I know we probably are going to end up wrapping up in the next hour or so anyways, but if you guys are able to call in, the phone number is 312 869-4117. Sound like it's like early.
Florida State to stick the lead.
There you go. Okay. How much time left?
There's 4:27 left.
Hopefully that defense can stop him.
It's not looking good already.
Guys, again, I want to sound like I'm on old school WSCR. The phone number one more time, guys.
The phone number one more time.
312-869-4117. We're talking football over here, guys. Another really, really intriguing matchup this week. One of the league's best offenses against one of the league's best defenses, Kansas City at Jacksonville. I don't want to say this because I have a lot of fantasy implications to do with Kansas City, but this is a possible trap game for Kansas City.
I think so too.
Because Jacksonville's defense is really, really good.
Yep.
People are almost sleeping on how good this Jacksonville defense is going to be. They had one bad season last year where a lot of it had to do with injury. A lot of it had to do with their linebackers were sort of in disarray. And they go out and I think what they did was they tweaked their defense just a little bit this year. They brought in Josh Allen, one of the best pass rushers of the draft. And they decided that
lucked into getting Josh Allen.
Yeah,
too.
for sure. I'm sure they didn't game plan to get him because everyone had him gone way before they were on the board. Yeah. So they're probably happy to see that. And they got Nick Foles, and they feel like Nick Foles can be the game manager that they want, and hopefully Fournette can be a guy. I think this will be a really, really, really close game. But I'm gonna go with Kansas City, just simply because I'm gonna say this, Nick. This Mahomes kid is special. Mm-hmm. I don't think this is 1 year wonder type things. I don't think this guy is caught lightning in a bottle last year. I think this kid legitimately is ready to change the game.
Right.
And I think there's a huge difference between him and some of the young quarterbacks who have had success in the last couple of years. Because we've seen that. Yep. We've seen young guys come in, have one really good year, and then the next year they tend to, have a pretty sharp dip, and then they just sort of fizzle out.
Right.
And I don't see that with Patrick. I think Mahomes has the weaponry around him to do it. They added Shady McCoy, which, oddly enough, Nick, remember last week when McCoy got cut, and what was the first thing I said? Kansas City better jump on this, and I think Kansas City should jump on this, and they did jump on it, and they brought Shady McCoy. They've got 3 really good running backs. They've got Tyreek Hill. They got Travis Kelce and a bunch of young receivers. I think it's worth mentioning, Kansas City's defense is better this year.
Yeah.
They went out and brought some guys back and brought some guys in. Frank Clark, one of those guys. I know they got rid of Justin Houston, but people forget, man, Justin Houston got up there in age, and he was owed a lot of money from them. So I think they dodged a bullet in a way, and they bring in Frank Clark, one of the best pass rushers. I'm going to say it's going to be a close game, and I think Kansas City takes it in the end.
Yeah, I'm going with Jacksonville at home. The thing with the Jaguars is my eyes is on Leonard Fournette. I think there's a lot riding on Leonard Fournette. We saw what he did his rookie season when he was focused, running the ball. He was kind of the focus of the offense because, with the way Leonard Fournette played, kind of dictated how well Blake Bortles had that year. And there were still question marks. I think that if Blake Bortles wanted to light a bag of poop on somebody's doorstep that he doesn't have a job,
miss it. Yeah.
it would be Leonard Fournette's because Leonard Fournette last year was so bad and he was so hurt that even Tom Coughlin called him out and was like, dude, you're lazy, and almost traded his goof ass.
Yeah.
So I think if Leonard Fournette can come and we can see the rookie Leonard Fournette, which I think we will.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a long day for Jacksonville because I think that defense is gonna do much better against Mahomes than I think a lot of people give them credit.
Too. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a blowout at all. People are saying it's gonna be a blowout.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I'm not saying that I don't think that Mahomes can't have a good game. He's not gonna throw touchdowns. I'm just saying when it comes to the efficiency game, Jacksonville's defense is gonna put a little hold on that. So I don't like Kansas City being on the road on the first game against such a really good defense.
Sure.
So I'll take Jacksonville.
Yeah, no, I was close to picking the same way, and that actually would be the last of the 12 o'clock window, and jumping into the 3 o'clock window. Indianapolis at the Chargers. Chargers are heavily favored. I think Las Vegas really soured on the Colts after Luck retired, and I think they just assumed that this team is going to be in the dumps now. I don't necessarily think that, Nick. I mean, I know that their defense isn't as great as they played last year, but I'm okay with Jacoby Brissett, and I think they've got some pretty nice pieces. But I still think the Chargers are going to take this one. I think, the real big thing about the Chargers now is, like, who's this team going to be now?
Yeah.
Phillip Rivers is on his last leg.
Yep.
No Melvin Gordon anymore.
Yep.
You got less firepower in general than you usually would have around Phillip Rivers. And we're going to see how they adjust. And that defense hasn't necessarily, done a ton to change things up. I know that, they made a nice, couple of draft picks with Derwin James and, Nick Bosa, or I'm sorry, Joey Bosa. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily think this is going to be a blowout. I think Vegas is giving the Colts a touchdown in this one. I think that's probably. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Chargers are going to eke a win out.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, if you want to be real about it, there's really a lot riding on the line. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say riding on the line. That's too strong. Yeah. But Indianapolis kind of coming in. See, the thing is, if this was Jacoby Brissett the first time, then I'd have been like, damn, the Colts ain't got no shot.
Right.
But we're talking about Jacoby Brissett the second time, to a point to where you just signed him to a 2-year, $30 million contract. He knows the offense. He knows the guys. He knows he's going to get protection.
Yep.
So maybe he won't have to run for his life. We're going to see how he can throw. But with I just almost did it. With Los Angeles, I'm with you. There's no Melvin Gordon. Phillip Rivers is not getting any younger. Mm-hmm. The defense is there. The thing that killed me about L.A. last year was in that game against Baltimore, where they had their foots on the throats of Baltimore. Please tell me you didn't.
Do we have a Florida State update?
Okay, it's tied with a minute 40 left.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, dude, it's insane.
It's a nail biter.
What was I gonna say? Oh, so what killed me with them was you gave confidence to Lamar Jackson of something that we didn't think he could do.
Yeah,
they were up like 37-13, and Lamar Jackson threw like 3 TD passes to even make that a game last year.
Yeah.
So how's the defense going to look? Mm-hmm. That's a really big question. But like you said, if Joey Bosa can stay healthy, because for some reason both Bosas love to get hurt.
I know, they love to get hurt, yeah.
And so I'm with you on that part. But because it's LA, they're at home. Yeah. I don't like the Colts on the road per se.
Yeah.
I don't think the Colts would get blown out. I think they make it a game, but I think LA makes one more. And it kills me to say that because I like the Colts.
Me too. Yeah.
Even though Andrew Luck is gone, I still think they're competitive because they made a lot of good moves on defense.
Yeah, and they drafted really well the last 2
years.
And
they did. Yeah. They really did. And my thing is, I want to see how Jacoby Brissett is in these first couple of games now that he's the man, to see now if the Colts can really make the next step. Because let's say if they do suck, there's still quarterbacks coming out next year that you can draft.
And they extended Brissett, but people forget, in the NFL, contracts are not what they are in basketball or baseball.
Right.
You can give a guy a contract extension and still not think he's going to outlast that extension. So, people were pointing at the fact that they extended Brissett as they made a commitment to Brissett. Listen, any commitment you make in the NFL, as we saw with Antonio Brown, as we saw with a lot of other people in the past, you can sign extensions and still not stay with that team. So, I think we're pretty aligned on that. And then jumping into another one of the 3 o'clock windows, we've got another team that's set to be one of the worst teams in the league against, a team that's vastly improved.
You have to be talking about Cincinnati.
I'm talking about Cincinnati, my man.
Yep.
Cincinnati is playing at Seattle against the Seahawks. There's really not much to say, Nick.
No.
I think Seahawks are just generally better than the Bengals.
The only thing that I'm intrigued is I want to see how Jadeveon Clowney now plays as a 4-3 D lineman.
Yeah.
I said this on Arch Rivals as well. The thing is, I compared Jadeveon Clowney to Mario Williams.
Sure, yeah.
When Mario Williams was in the 4-3 in Houston, he was a monster.
Yep.
When Romeo Crennel came in and switched 3-4, he was ineffective.
Yep. And then
when he left to go to Buffalo under Jim Schwartz, the third best defense under Jim Schwartz, of that year, not third best defense ever, but the third best defense that year. 15 sacks. Rex Ryan comes in, runs a 3-4.
3-4, yeah.
He was ineffective. Jadeveon Clowney is not a 3-4 linebacker.
No, he's not.
He's not. And so now I want to see how he is in his natural position as a 4-3. Because think about it. If you look at that playoff game last year with Houston, Jadeveon Clowney was out of position for more than half of that game.
Nowhere to be seen.
And he was nowhere to be seen. You cannot ask a man that is known to rush the passer to
stand up
and play coverage.
Yeah,
that is not his game. It has never been his game.
Yeah.
And that's why I was hoping to God that Jadeveon would have fallen to Tampa that year because we were still in the 4-3 and I would have loved them to be down there. Yeah. But Houston could not pass up on a freak of Jadeveon. Yeah. But you put him in the wrong system, and that's why the numbers may not make sense.
Yeah, no, I understand. And Seattle at this point, they want to play him both ways. They want to play him standing up. They want to play him, with his hand down. Here's the thing about Clowney. He's not very good against the run when he doesn't have a hand on the ground.
Right.
When he doesn't have the leverage, he's terrible against the run.
Yes.
We saw it in Houston. Teams made a point every single week to run it right his way. Smash him in the mouth from play one and run it away from Watt. And that's why that defense was so confused because they kept trying to put Watt and, okay, maybe we could play them next to each other. Okay, maybe we'll put them on opposite sides of the defense and maybe that will and nothing helped because he just didn't fit.
Right.
So I'm very interested to see how he does too. I'm interested to see how his usage is in the first week.
Yeah.
He doesn't really know the defense that well, but he's a football player. Go out there and make football plays, and as long as he understands what he's doing, it shouldn't be that big of a deal.
And I wouldn't be shocked if that's what they told him. Like, look, we're going to play 4-3.
Yep.
We just want you to
rush
go
the
after
passer.
Just go after Dalton. That's all I want you to do.
Today. Yeah.
And then we'll continue to work with you as weeks go on.
And it's a lesser opponent. I don't think they expect very much out of Cincinnati. I don't think Cincinnati expects very much out of Cincinnati. Sorry, guys.
That's true.
And then another pretty interesting game at the 3:00 window that I think is going to probably be another blowout is the Giants are going to be in Dallas to face the Cowboys. I think we're going to see Ezekiel Elliott he's going to look. Remember in Waterboy when he would make the defenders look like people he hated?
Yes.
Ezekiel Elliott is going to put Jerry Jones's face on every single one of the defenders and just run right over them.
Yeah.
I think they're going to Here's the thing I think about Dallas in general now. They've made such a commitment to Ezekiel Elliott that now he is going to be the focal point of this offense. If he wasn't already, he is now. So I expect 30-plus touches from this guy per game. No joke. I really do expect that. I think they're going to get him the ball 25 times a game in the backfield and hope he gets another 4 or 5 touches, passing the ball because they need him.
Yeah.
Because, listen, Dak Prescott is a good quarterback.
Oh, yes.
I think Amari Cooper is a damn good wide receiver, and I think them making that trade last year was such a catalyst for this franchise. People at first were like, what? You gave a first-round pick, and you're going to give him next year's first-round pick? Not even the year after, whatever. People gave a lot of grief to Jerry Jones about that, and all that Amari Cooper did when he came in is basically score touchdowns and catch balls.
Especially in that Thanksgiving game, too.
He crushed, yeah, and that was almost like a coming-out party for him because confidence-wise, I think Amari Cooper is a guy who went to Alabama.
Right.
Has been nothing but a highly touted prospect his whole career, since high school, basically. Goes to Oakland, has a pretty decent rookie year, and then the team gets bad, and all of a sudden you see this guy's confidence level go down. And when they made that trade, I think it almost gave him more confidence that, like, damn, I'm worth the first-round pick, and they really value me, and I'm the number one receiver now, and I'm one of the best franchises in NFL history. I think he really took kindly to that. I think probably both of us think Dallas is going to beat up on the Giants this Sunday.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Easily. And I think I had a stat line for Dak. I think I had him because I'm real high on Dak Prescott this year. I think I said like 22 of 29.
Oh.
A solid 304.
Okay.
3 touchdowns, 2 to Cooper. And then Zeke's going to eat as well. Dude, the Giants suck.
The Giants are terrible, and they're going to be terrible all year. All right, and then I think this one... No, sorry. So there's this is the second to last one in the 3 o'clock window. We have Detroit at Arizona. I think this is going to be kind of a boring game. I'll be honest with you, Nick. I think both of these teams are going to be in a feeling out process. I think actually Detroit's in a better position right now than Arizona is. I think this is a trap game mainly for Detroit. I think Detroit's going to come in there thinking that they're going to face a rookie quarterback who's in over his head, and they're going to be fine. And next thing you know, Kyler Murray's going to have 4 touchdowns somehow. So we'll see. I'm honestly, Nick, I'm really, really interested to see this Arizona offense because everything you're hearing over the offseason is they're gonna run 70 plays and they're gonna throw the ball 40 times a game and David Johnson's gonna get 30 touches in the game. I'm very interested to see how they're gonna make this happen. Again, this sort of air raid offense that Cliff Kingsbury is bringing in is certainly in a trial phase. So we'll have to see. I'll go ahead and take Arizona in this one. I think Kyler Murray, for selfish reasons, I have him in a couple fantasy teams, and I have Christian Kirk in a couple fantasy teams. I really think Kyler Murray's going to find a way to get off on this defense, whether it's with his legs or with his arm, and I think they're going to find a way to get it done.
Got Miro's going to call in here in a sec. Hey, Steve, you can do me a favor. Can you put the comments up here too? Because I have to put this Florida State game on right now. It is blowing my mind that I'm actually wasting data. I hope it would go into overtime. I mean, it's 4th and 5.
Oh my God.
Freaking Florida State is struggling against freaking UL Monroe.
What do you want me to put up there?
The comments.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
yes,
sure.
Please. Just in case if somebody says something.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to have Miro call in right now.
All right, cool.
So give me 1 second.
While he calls in, dude, I wasn't impressed with Kyler Murray in the preseason. Yeah. This man, I don't think made an accurate pass.
I got Miro on right now.
Hello? What's going on, bro?
What's up, Miro?
I don't think Kyler Murray made an accurate pass or pass deeper than 15 yards.
Yeah, he did. Listen, he had 2 terrible games, and then he had that game against Minnesota. He was pretty efficient, but he didn't really do much down the field. Everything was within 15 to 20 yards.
Yeah.
And everything was outside the pocket, too. Because, the guy's 5'10", 5'11". It's going to be really tough for him in the pocket
and on top of that, the offensive line of the Cardinals is still atrocious.
Garbage, yeah.
Atrocious.
Sorry.
Miro, what's going on? So I'm taking Detroit. Actually.
Yeah, okay, cool.
How you guys doing?
What's up, man?
What's good, Miro?
What's up? Yeah, I wanted to chime in a little bit. I wanted to get in on the fun. This is my favorite time of the year, so.
What's good? What did you think about the Bears game this Thursday?
It was rough, but it's just one of those things where it's like first game of the year, right? But at the end of the day, Packers had just as much time to prepare as we did.
That's true.
So it shouldn't really matter. No excuses, right?
Yeah, and they looked
way
better prepared too.
Couple quick questions for you guys. 2 questions before I run. 1, who is your lock of the week? For those doing survival leagues, and you could pick one team this week, who is your one lock of the week to win?
I'm going to go with Philadelphia at home against the Redskins.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I was going to stay in the NFC East.
Yeah.
I was going to say Dallas because freaking the Giants suck too.
Yeah, I think you can't go wrong with Dallas or oh my God, Dallas or Philadelphia. I like the Ravens matchup against the Dolphins, but I don't think that's as much of a lock because Baltimore's still a little bit. We don't know what they're going to look like on offense.
Yeah, and on the road too. So yeah dude, I would go with. I'd either go with Philly or Dallas. I think are locks.
I actually did go with Philly, so that's good to hear. Very encouraging.
Great minds think alike.
Exactly. And then a couple of fantasy football questions, if you guys don't mind.
Yes, sir.
Yes, for sure.
So I'm sure you guys heard about the trade, to the Chiefs this week. And I have Darwin Thompson on my team. I drafted this guy.
Oh, you talking about Shady McCoy?
Yeah, about McCoy and Shady. Yeah, and it kind of threw me off. Thompson was like a main bench guy in a deeper league. I'm talking 12 teams, deeper league. I was looking at this guy to finally take over, Damian's Williams' position. What do you guys think? Do you think now do I still stash this guy or do I just drop him? Any potential?
So what I would do is, okay, there's a couple of guys that I think are being a little bit underrated right now, backup wise. One guy is in Cleveland. His last name is Hilliard. He's going to be the backup running back this year,
right?
Until Hunt gets back week 10. So you're going to see a lot of passing downs and a lot of plays on third down from this guy Hilliard. I would suggest trying to pick up a guy like that because Thompson, he's definitely going to be affected. I think Williams is going to be affected, but to a much smaller degree because Andy Reid, people forget Andy Reid loves his running backs.
He does.
He loves his running backs, and his running backs always do really well. So I think Williams is going to be affected. I have Williams in a couple of leagues. I was a little bit upset about the McCoy thing, but I thought it made sense for the team. I just was kind of pissed because it's going to take away from Williams. But I don't think I think Thompson might be a guy. Here's what I would do. I would wait to see how the game goes tomorrow, obviously, and then I would make a move after the week's over because teams are gonna play more, I guess, feeling out process the first couple of weeks. So if he has a hot couple of touches in the first game, he could be involved because keep in mind, Shady just got there about a week ago now. So you're not going to throw him out there on the majority of snaps or anything like that. So keep him on there. If you feel like, he didn't get as much involvement in the game, I would go out and try and get a guy like Hilliard in Cleveland. Honestly, Nick, for fantasy purposes, you might want to go out and check what Mike Davis is looking like. If Mike Davis is available in your league, he got 10 plus touches in the game this week. So take a look at that. But yeah, that's probably my best advice to you.
Awesome. No, thanks. That's some good stuff.
Yeah, man. So how are you feeling about your fantasy team this year?
Honestly, I wish a lot of topics you guys were talking about. Leonard Fournette.
Yeah,
I got him on my team. So. Yeah. It's one of those things where you feel like he's been in the league forever, but it's only been a couple of years.
Yeah, and you feel like he's been hurt for 5 or 6 years, and he's only been in the league for 2 years.
Bruh, but I mean, he was always hurt in LSU.
That's
he had
true,
the one year where he was pretty much en route for the Heisman, and then he hurt his foot.
Mm-hmm,
and then his rookie year, he missed a couple games with a foot, but once he got healthy, he was tearing up Pittsburgh, and then he did a great job against New England before they abandoned the run and tried to make Blake Bortles the next Mark Brunell.
I know,
and then last year, he just got hurt and lazy, and Tom Coughlin called him out.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how he responds to that because this offense needs Leonard Fournette.
For sure.
They really do because I'm not saying that Nick Foles sucks. I'm just saying that we've seen the bad Nick Foles, and then we've seen a Super Bowl Nick Foles. I think this Nick Foles you're going to see is going to be kind of in between. You're going to see times where he's going to suck, and you're going to see some times where you're going to be like, this is why he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But they're going to need that running game in Jacksonville because, in fairness, Jacksonville really doesn't have any wide receivers.
No.
You can try and sell me on D.D. Westbrook all you want to. I am not
Marquise Lee, you can keep that.
I mean, dude, they should have never let Allen Robinson go after the ACL tear. I thought that was the stupidest thing they've ever done, and they never really replaced it. Now, I could be wrong, but as of now, on paper, I am not sold on a single wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
And keep in mind, Foles is used to having 4 or 5 receivers that he can use. In Philadelphia, there's Aguilar. There's all these guys, But, Miro, to go back to your point, I liked Fournette's value this year. When it comes to fantasy, I'm all about value. If you can get a guy later in the second round that has first-round potential, like even Fournette, as many risks as you're taking with Fournette, the risk-reward ratio is still really good for where he's being selected. So, the only thing I'd be nervous about is if he plays or not. When he plays, we know he's damn good. But if he plays is the big thing.
Awesome.
All right.
It was one of those things for me too because he fell down, and a couple rounds later, and it's like, how do you not take this guy? Like he just did so much a couple years back, and I don't know. At the end of the day, it's a value pick. Another guy I got on my team, Greg Olsen.
Okay.
I'm so wishy-washy about him. I could easily go. I could pick up Tyler Eifert. I could pick up. There's a couple of random tight ends out there, but.
Yeah.
I kind of waited around, and I thought Olsen was a late round guy that's there's some value in.
Yeah.
There's Witten available, Vernon Davis. Eifert's, not too many big names available.
Yeah.
I just stuck with Olsen. What do you guys think of him?
I think Olsen's the best of the guys that you mentioned, to be quite honest. I'm not a huge fan.
Can he bounce back?
Listen, I'm not a huge fan of him in general because here's the number one thing about
because he left the Bears, right? Because he left the Bears.
Yeah, well, no, because the Bears are idiots for trading him. No, but here's the thing about Olsen, okay? This is a guy who really has trouble staying on the field. 3 years in a row, he's had injury problems. I've used him historically in fantasy, and quite honestly, he's really hit or miss when it comes to Cam. Cam really only throws to him 3 or 4 times a game now, and one of them has to be a touchdown in order for him to really bank on it. But you do have that with him. He's a red zone guy. You go to him, when you're inside the 20, and I think that's the value for him. But I would take a look at a guy like Zach Goddard, or Dallas Goddard. I always call him Zach Goddard. Dallas Goddard. He's the backup for Philadelphia. He's a backup for Ertz in Philadelphia. He's going to be involved in the offense this year. And if Ertz goes down, he's an automatic tight end 1. So if you have space on your bench, maybe take a look at a Dallas Goddard to back up Olsen. But Olsen's good to start the year because he's healthy. We know he's healthy, so we'll see how he can do.
And Cam Newton's officially good to go, right? For now.
Yeah, he's good to go for now. I think out of that crew you mentioned, I would actually go with Jason Witten. I think Witten is going to be the forgotten guy when you got to remember, you have Amari Cooper, you have Randall Cobb, and you have Michael Gallup on there as well. My fault, man. Another dumbass screenplay that goes nowhere.
Florida State guys in overtime. Sorry about that.
So I think with Gallup in the slot, with Zeke now coming back, with the big play of Cooper, and with Randall Cobb, that could be a nice little second receiver. Jason Witten's going to be the forgotten guy, and I think he's going to end up being the security blanket for Dak Prescott. Yeah. So I think it's Jason Witten if he can stay healthy.
I want to see how they use him in week 1. If they use him, I want to see his snap count. I want to see how many targets he gets because he's 100% a guy that's got safe hands and a good guy for Dak to throw to. So sounds like you've got a pretty decent team there, Miro.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's a 12-person league that I've kind of been doing since high school. So
cool.
It's one of those things where it's more just about bragging rights at the end of the year.
I got one of those too. I got a league that's 14 teams. So I got a league that's 16 teams in total, and every year 2 teams get kicked out. So basically, it's a 14-team league with 16 total members, and the bottom 2 get kicked out every year. So it's highly competitive. We do an auction draft, and I'm
a fan of the auction.
I like auction drafts too, but I tend to suck at them. Like this year, I got Patrick Mahomes, I got Devontae Adams, I got David Johnson, and I got Josh Jacobs, and I basically had no money left for the rest of my team. Yeah. So it keeps you honest, but that league is zero money. We've never put a dime into it, anything other than a trophy. It just literally so we can talk shit to each other every week.
Which is what's wrong.
Do you guys believe in like doing last place of the league? Something happens to them for next year. You guys believe in that?
I like our format because the 16-team league total creates a sense of urgency to be good enough to not suck every year. Because
actually, mine's 14. Sorry, mine's 14.
Yours 14 too. Okay,
I definitely feel it. I feel it. Yeah. You gotta dig deep. You gotta dig deep.
I'm telling you, and I have a keeper league too, and I like doing the 2-team dropout thing every single year because in my keeper league, one of the guys is just bad every year, and there's no real money in it, and he's just kind of going for he's doing his best to try and pick sleeper picks every single year, and just he sucks every single year, and no repercussions, nothing like that. I'm not a huge fan of that. I like it. I like repercussions. I'm not a huge dude of like we're 2-2 in the middle of Times Square. Like I'm not that guy or anything like that. But yeah, getting kicked out of the league is cool.
On another show, I heard they drenched the guy that was last place this year in water. For the whole draft, he had to sit there soaked.
Oh, soaked in water? Oh my god!
That's just some weirdness. That would piss me off.
Right, that would piss me off.
I'd have been mad as hell.
That's good. All right, guys. Hey, have fun.
Thank you,
Keep
Miro.
crushing it. I'm gonna tune in next time.
Hey, thank you. Hey, everyone that's watching, guys, do us a favor. Check out Miro on Boss to Boss Podcast. Look him up on Facebook. Like the page. Check out the podcast. You're doing great things over there, Miro, man. I really like what's going on with the podcast. I like the eclectic nature of the guests. It's not always, I feel like sometimes I watch so many sports podcasts and things in general, and then so many comedy things that it's just like, that's my life. Just watching sports and laughing at weird shit. And I feel like watching a cool conversation about something substantial, like, you had the one about transcendental meditation, something about yoga. I know you had one with a bunch of business owners, so that's really cool. So check out Boss to Boss Podcast. Thank you to Miro again. Let's wrap up. So first of all, give me a Florida State update before we wrap up these football picks.
I'm going to tell you in
3, 2.
Touchdown, Florida State. All right, here we go. Overtime. Touchdown FSU.
Okay. And
now, can we play 3 seconds of some goddamn defense?
We'll see.
Sweet
we'll
mama
see
Cedar.
how that goes. Let's close out the 3:00 window and then get into the Sunday night and Monday night games.
Yes, sir.
So we can transition into UFC.
Yes, sir.
So San Francisco at Tampa Bay.
Yes, sir.
Should I even ask you who you have in this game?
Yeah, dude. This
is gonna be an interesting
Keller,
game.
she was live, who was blind and deaf.
She'd braille over me.
No, I'm taking this one. Here's the thing. The thing is, if Tampa Bay doesn't tighten up the screws on their offensive line and the defensive front seven of San Francisco stays healthy, it's going to cause fits for the Bucs.
Yeah.
I do believe in Tampa Bay. New coaching staff, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, respectable coach. Everyone's held accountable. Think about it like this. When Jameis got sacked, he got sacked like maybe 5 or 6 times in that first half against Cleveland.
Okay.
Bruce Arians came out and said he should have only been sacked 4 times and called Jameis out for holding the ball way too long and seeing that there were 2 people that were wide open. He was too scared to throw the ball. And that's what I like.
Yeah.
Hold number 3 accountable.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that Dirk Cutter never did.
Yeah.
That someone like Jimbo Fisher did do when he was in Florida State.
Good example.
Jimbo Fisher had he was never scared to call Jameis out.
Sure. He'd get in his face, yeah. And here's another thing about this game. I'm really high on San Francisco this year. I think their defense is underrated right now.
I think so, too.
I think their offense has a lot of people coming back. I think Jimmy G is going to prove a lot of people wrong this year. And I'm gonna take San Francisco. And the only reason I'm going to take San Francisco is because we haven't had a chance to see what exactly Tampa Bay is going to look like quite yet.
Right.
So I really want, because I don't view, and we talked about this last week, I don't view Tampa Bay in the same light that a lot of people do. I think a lot of people see this as a lost year for Tampa Bay, and they're just going to go out and lose some games, and they're going to try and wrap it up for the next year and hopefully be good next year. I don't necessarily see it as that. I think Arians is a competitive coach.
I think so too.
I think Bowles is a guy who's a very competitive coordinator, and I think they're gonna whip this team into shape. It's not like there's a talent problem.
Oh my God.
Just gave up another touch. So
yes, dude, this defense is horrible.
And that was quick too. I'm going to take San Francisco in this one, but I think it's going to be a super close game. And Tampa Bay's at home, so I definitely don't blame. I don't even think you're being biased right now. I think they, might be a pretty good pick there. So, the Sunday night game is interesting tomorrow, Nick. We've got Pittsburgh at New England against the Patriots.
Yep.
And you know what? While we're on this game, Nick, let's talk about my boy Antonio Brown.
Let's talk about him.
Let's talk about my boy. First of all, let me be the only person on earth left to defend Antonio Brown a little bit. Can I be that person, Nick? I know you're.
Oh, he missed! Yes!
Florida State just won this field goal, guys.
He missed the extra point. Yes! Yes!
Okay, Florida State back in the conversation, everybody.
Hold on, let me get my hat.
Give Nick a second to recover. I got you.
Yeah,
hold on, I don't want
your foot.
Okay.
Yes. A sigh of relief.
Man. Could you tell that was tense, guys? Could you tell?
Yes.
So Florida State just ends the game after a missed field goal, so they will take it in overtime. Who are they playing again?
Dude, we're playing freaking
Louisiana
Monroe.
Okay, well, They'll take the W, I'm sure, at this point.
Meanwhile, on Green Street, Miami's getting reamed by North Carolina.
And people want to talk about Miami as being like, because their quarterback is going to be pretty good this year, but
dude, Miami sucks
good
balls.
luck. Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah.
There you go. That's the 3 words you need to know from this. If that's the 3 best words, I'll tell you this entire
Good
show.
luck on
It is Miami sucks balls.
Miami sucks balls. Okay.
Freaking idiots. Dude, Miami are idiots.
But yeah, guys, Florida State takes the win.
All
Sorry
right.
about that. We can move on. So yeah, again, I want to be the only person left, probably in the universe, to defend Antonio Brown.
You may not be.
Okay, good. Okay, please. Yeah. So listen, guys, in sports, you become numb to the fact that players are employees.
True.
Players have jobs.
Yes.
And they're humans.
Yes.
At the same time.
That's the main piece we forget.
And they're humans. And you really have to understand this when it comes to this Antonio Brown stuff. Nick is back, and he's happy. 1-1 Florida State. No, so okay, Antonio Brown. The Pittsburgh stuff was not that great. Okay, nobody's gonna say that he handled that well.
Right.
But Ben Roethlisberger's a douchebag. Mike Tomlin doesn't have a backbone worth shit. And that team ended up souring on Le'Veon Bell and souring on Antonio Brown simultaneously within the last couple of years.
Yep.
He goes to Oakland. He never had a choice in going to Oakland, Nick.
Right.
Let's be clear about that.
Right.
He never had a choice. Pittsburgh wanted to let him go, and Oakland was ready to take on his money. So Oakland goes out, makes a low-leverage trade, a low-risk, high-reward. Right. Give up a couple low picks and get one of the best receivers in the game the last couple of years. So Antonio Brown gets in there. He has the whole issue with the feet, the cryogenic whatever chamber. He has an accident, and his feet basically get frostbite. His feet look disgusting. Completely torn up. Next thing you know, Brown goes to practice. He's practicing, and now they're telling him his helmet is no longer certified. He can't wear that helmet. John Gruden comes out like, we support the guy. He's a great guy. Da da da. And Mike, they're playing like in typical John Gruden form. And listen, I'll be honest with you. I used to talk shit about John Gruden. I like him a lot better after this offseason. After watching Hard Knocks and after everything that's happened with this Brown stuff, I kind of like Chucky. I'm not going to lie. I really do like him now.
Right.
Mike Mayock, first of all, can go fuck himself. And second of all, they tried to play this good cop, bad cop thing. Mike Mayock is, John Gruden's in it. We're going to support him to the end. Same day, Mike Mayock is saying, we need a decision, now or never. Whatever he said.
Right.
Okay. You make the investment on this guy. He has those issues. And you fine him $50,000. They didn't have to, by the way. Let's make that clear. A lot of people said, well, they don't have a choice. No, they did. They had a choice. They decided to fine him, and that's petty to me. First of all, you're going to give the guy $29 million this year.
Right.
To say, give us $50,000 back because you did this, petty. So Antonio Brown takes offense to that.
As he should.
As he should.
Yeah.
Because that was dumb. Gruden already came out and said that the accident with his feet was an accident. And it could happen to anybody. And thankfully, he's recovered. He also came out and said he supports the guy in the helmet thing. Because if safety is your number one thing as the league now and you're pushing for this big safety thing, but you got Antonio Brown who's saying, I've never gotten hurt in this helmet and I need this helmet. I think it's just crazy the way that the media is painting him, and I think he's made a couple of missteps. Like he leaked a phone call with John Gruden and made it into a Nike video, and then he had a video that came out on Twitter of him finding out that he got cut, and he ran in elation to the backyard and stuff like that, and basically said, "I'm free." So that looks to me like a guy who's so happy that he gets to choose his fate now.
Yeah.
And I'm never gonna hate on Antonio Brown. I think he's just as dumb and selfish as everybody else in the league. And I don't think he's this drama queen that's way up here and everybody else is down here. No, if you think that Antonio Brown is any worse or better than anybody else in the league, I've got news for you. He's not.
I was at work when I saw that Antonio Brown had been released from the Raiders.
Yeah.
And the whole time that I saw this, I went immediately on Facebook. And I am just seeing people just rip in Antonio Brown. He's entitled.
Yeah.
And good luck to
Millions
the
of
Raiders.
dollars, yeah.
And finally somebody stands up to these guys and
Yeah.
blah, 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 this and that. And this is where I was going to go until I saw he signed with the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about mental health
Yeah.
in this country so much. And I said this, and you see me getting set up
Animated.
because
Yeah,
I'm about
I'm
to
ready.
get animated here in a sec. Because I'm going to lose some friends on what I'm going to say.
Okay.
Because what offends me is I am a huge advocate of what's good for the goose has to be good for the gander, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's good for one person has to be good for another person,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
My problem, especially in our country, whether it's sports or in life in general, is that we pretend that black people can't suffer from the same stuff that white people do.
Yeah.
People think that black people and white people aren't cut from the same cloth.
Mm-hmm.
In some aspects of life, yes, it's true. When it comes to mental health, you have a brain, I have a brain, Steve has a brain, Miro has a brain.
Yeah.
We all have brains.
Mm-hmm.
Antonio Brown has taken some massive hits.
Oh, yeah.
Especially from one of the dirtiest players in the league.
His former teammate.
And Vontaze Burfict.
Vontaze
Okay?
Burfict, yeah.
He has taken some major hits.
Yeah.
My first thing was, before we sit here and try and rip Antonio Brown that he's some entitled diva, why don't we start thinking about maybe there's really something wrong with Antonio Brown that we don't see? Because here's my problem, and I was thinking of this scenario when I was at work.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you and I went out and play football.
Yeah.
And you get rocked.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm over and I'm like, yo, Mack, you okay? Nah, man, I'm fine. I'm like, are you okay? Okay. I'm like, all right, I'll believe you. So then we go and we're doing the show. And for 3 weeks straight, you come here late because
acting all weird.
Acting
all
weird
erratic and
saying that you forgot the route to come here.
Yeah.
I immediately think there's something wrong with you.
Of course.
Antonio Brown had that chirogenic or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Has been doing it for years. All of a sudden, he wore the wrong footwear going into the booth.
Yeah.
That didn't set off some signs.
And apparently, that's one of the number one safety things when it comes to those things is they make sure you wear slippers into there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna tell me of the 8th year you've been in, or however long Antonio
And you've been
Brown's
using it for
in
your whole life, basically.
your entire life.
Yeah.
You all of a sudden decide that you wore the wrong footwear. Like, here's a mistake. I forgot my keys. Or I forgot my wallet.
Right, yeah.
Or I forgot my headphones.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
those are easy mistakes. Wearing the wrong footwear knowing you get frostbite is not just a simple mistake.
You're stepping into a chamber that's minus 40 degrees or something like that. It's like, if you don't know that you should have slippers on when you go in there, there might be something wrong.
So my ultimate problem is this.
Yeah.
Before you start going around talking about how entitled Antonio Brown might actually be, I honestly think that there's something wrong with Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
And my thing is, before New England wants to put him out on the field, because for whatever reason, the New England Patriots seem to be this what's the word I'm looking for?
They're like the halfway house.
You
like,
feel what
they're
I'm
like,
saying?
You got a problem? Come over here. We'll solve it. And
we'll
Josh,
solve it.
We got Josh Gordon there anywhere. We'll take it. Yeah.
And we're gonna wait on him until he's ready. And he felt ready. He passed the test.
He's ready
the
to go.
NFL said
He's
you
gonna
get
start for
everything
them.
in,
Yeah.
and you're starting for them tomorrow.
Yeah. Wow.
That's my thing. If I was the Patriot, I'd be like, look, Antonio, let's take a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Let's get you in shape. Let's make sure your mind is correct.
Yeah.
Okay? This $15 million don't mean shit to us.
No.
So
Yeah.
let's take some time. Let's relax. Let's chill. And then let's get you ready.
Yeah.
And that makes me so upset because if it was some guy that goes off and shoot everybody else up,
Right.
now all of a sudden it's a mental health
Might be
issue.
something,
Antonio Brown has done some real crazy nonsense.
He gets hit in the head for a living, and they're like, he's just a diva.
He's just a diva.
He's just a diva. He's got a bad attitude.
Stop it.
And you know what's so crazy, Nick, is listen, 3 or 4 years ago, everyone thought Antonio Brown was one of the best, nicest, better teammates that was in the league. There was never really any issue with this guy 4 years ago. Then Ben Roethlisberger started becoming more of a douchebag. The Le'Veon Bell stuff starts happening. Then, if you remember, Nick, Pittsburgh had that weird stuff with the anthem, remember?
Yep.
That was where, Trump was coming up and the anthem conversation came up. And
It
this
happened here in Chicago.
Yep, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So here's what I want to say about that, because I think you hit the nail right on the head, Nick. And I know both of us don't like doing this.
Right.
But I have to.
It has to be brought up.
It has to be said right now.
It has to be brought up. Yeah.
The way that we look at mental health in this country is really skewed.
Yes.
And I think this is such a specific case because football players get hit in the head for a living. And I think that's something that people just leave out of their minds miraculously sometimes. But I don't think it's really that controversial to say that black and brown people don't get the same attention mental health-wise that any run-of-the-mill American does.
Right.
And, I think what it comes down to sometimes at the end of the day is not understanding that people are alike and almost the same in many ways.
Yes.
And Antonio Brown is no different than Rob Gronkowski and is no different than any other, like Julian Edelman.
No different from Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck. This is a guy who has kids, has a family.
Yep.
Has people that love him, friends in the league, close friends in the league, people that will vouch for this guy's character, including his old coach. John Gruden said on his exit call, I think you're one of the most misunderstood fucking people I've ever met in my life.
Yep.
And when you have people saying that about you, you can't really help but feel for this guy.
Yeah.
And feel, you know what? This is one thing, and we'll wrap up on this, and I'll let you say your piece after this, but I applaud Antonio Brown for taking control of the narrative.
Yeah.
And saying, you know what? I'm not going to let Mike Mayock go to the media behind the back and put out all these details. He called me a cracker. And did it. That was apparently one of the sticking points, was that he got in his face, said he'd punch him in the face, called him a cracker, and basically took a ball and punted it and said, "Fine me for that." Now, these details don't get out on their own.
Right.
There's somebody releasing these details. So Antonio Brown should feel slighted by that.
Yep.
And he should feel like that's kind of messed up that got out. And somehow, miraculously, this team meeting, the secret team meeting where he apologized and was tearfully apologizing, also somehow got out. And you know what? Antonio Brown took the control back and said, I'm going to tell my story now.
Yep.
I'm going to show you guys the phone call I had with John Gruden, that him saying you're misunderstood and I'm sorry about this and this sucks. Do you want to be a Raider? And him basically saying back to John Gruden, do I want to be a Raider? Do you guys want me to be a Raider? That's the real question.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, you know what you got. We had a series of unfortunate events with this guy, and now you're basically talking about it as if this guy's the worst guy in the world.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, dude. My thing is, I was going to say, if he wasn't signed by New England, I was like, dude, can we please check this man's brain to make sure that it's not like a scrambled egg and he ends up like Junior Seau, and then we start playing we should have seen the signs.
Yeah.
Bro, I could have told you the signs in solid 2
I could have told you 2 years ago. Yeah, for sure.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, come on, man. But I hope New England takes their time with Antonio Brown.
I do too.
Let's not rush him. Let's make sure that mentally he's okay. Let's make sure that, he's straight. Because this nonsense that you just mentioned with the Raiders is probably one of the reasons why the players are just going to go ahead and just lock out of the season.
Yeah.
Because this makes no sense.
I'm telling you.
You want us to make all this money and make all this bread to make you guys bread, and you still continuously treat us like complete
garbage
shit. And at some point, we are not going to stand for it.
And you get to control the narrative. Rob Gronkowski is this fun, and everyone loves Rob Gronkowski. He's stripping, and he's here, and he's there, and he's always. But somehow Antonio Brown, who's sort of just as in the spotlight and just as crucial, in that aspect, gets shit for it. So. Nick, I'm going to get 3 quick picks from you, and then we're going to transition to UFC, and then we're going to wrap this bad boy up because everybody wants to get on their way here. So Steelers-Patriots, Steelers at Patriots late in Sunday night. I'm going to go ahead and go with the Patriots, my man.
I'm going with New England, too.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, dude. You know what, though? One guy on Pittsburgh I am going to have my eye on is Devin Bush. I think Devin Bush was
I have him in fantasy.
Pick.
Yeah, me too.
I think he was a solid pick.
And they needed the middle linebacker after Shazier left.
And they traded up to get Devin Bush. Yeah. I thought in the game against Tampa in the first preseason game, he played the whole first quarter. He looked absolutely amazing. Yeah. So he could give New England fits. But with them getting Josh Gordon back, a big-time playmaker, especially with N'Keal Harry kind of being on the fence if he's going to play or not, I don't see New England losing this game at home.
Yeah.
the banner raising on top of that.
That's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah, I got New England too. First of 2 Monday night games, Nick. Houston is going to be visiting New Orleans.
Hold on, I'm going to stop you right now.
Yes,
Let me stop you right now.
Go ahead.
Phil, I'm not saying that Antonio Brown is a victim. He just said, stop acting like Brown is a victim. No, I'm not going to let you do that.
Who said that?
That Phil is saying that. I'm not saying that he's a victim at all. What I'm saying is,
we said he made mistakes. He's come off as a diva at times. There's plenty of examples of that.
Yes, there's plenty of examples. What I'm saying is I've seen same nonsense in other people, and then all of a sudden we're saying, he's having mental health issues. We need to check it out. Why does Antonio Brown not get the same exact respect that everybody else does? That's nonsense. So don't play that. I'm not playing that game.
No one's
today.
playing the victim card. And quite
No.
frankly, if you listen to the full transcript of what we said that Brown has had outbursts and has had things that happen, but that's not out of the ordinary for sports, guys.
Right.
Let's not pretend that being an egomaniac hasn't worked for wide receivers before. Hey, have you heard of Terrell Owens? Have you heard of Chad Ochocinco? Yeah. Have you heard of some of the best players ever to put on a helmet being
Randy
egomaniacs?
Moss was a diva.
Randy Moss being a diva and an egomaniac. So stop with this whole thing about Antonio Brown being special and being a special kind of douchebag. I'm going to give you an example that's out of sports, Nick, that may be a little bit out of left field and it might divert our attention a little bit. But when Kanye West came out
let's talk about
recently and was being weird, and not necessarily being weird by, I know he had a big thing, supporting Trump and wearing the MAGA hat, but I'm just saying in general, being a weirdo, saying weird things, going on TMZ, saying weird things about slavery, talking out of his pay grade. And then next thing you know, he basically slips in an interview, by the way, I'm off my meds. I just want to let you guys know that I stopped taking my meds because it was messing with my creative process, and I just didn't feel good making music on medication, but it's also affecting the way that I think. And it's making, and then nobody mentions that afterwards. Nope. Everybody just, this cancel culture that we have in this country now. Oh, you did something bad? You're canceled. What? You said something bad about us? You're canceled. What? You like Trump? You're canceled. You say bad things about black people? You're canceled. This mentality that we have to not think with nuance, to say, this guy just literally came out and said, I have mental health issues. I take medication. I stopped taking that medication.
And I believe a lot of that happened, excuse me, after his mom passed.
Exactly. And his mom passed, and he essentially said the drugs he was using back then were not mental health drugs. Right. Those drugs were like, shit, my mom just died. I'm going through a spiral right now. Right. And then he comes out and says he's doing Lexapro and some of these other, some people say beneficial and some people say detrimental drugs. Yep. And it's controversial and it's a nuanced topic. And you can't just talk about Kanye West and just have the conversation and say the guy's crazy. The guy is dumb. The guy is an egomaniac.
I'm still so mad about what he did with Taylor Swift.
And what an egomaniac. And how dare he say this about this group of people, or how dare he support this group of people, when all this guy's doing is essentially crying out for help and basically saying, I'm telling you guys that I'm a little bit off right now. Yeah. So, again, nobody's saying Antonio Brown's a victim. I'm just saying this guy isn't public enemy number one. No. Let's stop with that bullshit. Yeah. Houston at New Orleans, Nick. I'm going to go ahead and take New Orleans in that one.
I'm taking Houston in the upset.
Okay.
I still, for some reason, I'm just not buying into New Orleans.
New Orleans this year, yeah.
I don't know why. I know it sounds crazy.
It doesn't, honestly.
Drew Brees did not look good in the preseason. And people be like, it's just preseason, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's just preseason that Mitchell Trubisky didn't play, and in his first game, he looked like crap.
Yeah, and when they say all of camp, you look like shit, too. And that's what they said about Brees. It's worse news.
So, but I'm taking – I like the moves that Houston made, bringing in Laramie Tunsil, bringing in Kenny Stills.
And what did we say about Houston when we talked about them? They need another receiver because Kiki Kuti's okay, but is he a third receiver?
Right.
Do they need?
Will
Will Fuller is
yeah.
good, but is he better than? So now that they got Kenny Stills and they got one of the best left tackles in the league, I like that. I like them.
And a speed demon at that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
one thing
exactly, yeah. And then lastly, before we jump into UFC, guys, Broncos at Raiders. I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Broncos. I think the defense is too good. And I think the Raiders are still in the feeling out process, especially losing your best offensive player. I'm not gonna go ahead and pick them this week.
Yeah, no, I'm taking Denver as well. I'm anxious to see how Joe Flacco works with this. With the new offense and everything.
They're going to run the ball a lot, and that's good for him.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. I'm hoping maybe they don't look too good so that the Bears have a better, easier path next week, but I'm still going to go with the Broncos. I'm going to go with the Broncos.
I'm going with Denver, too.
All right, cool. Well, we made it through that, guys. I do want to get into UFC 242. I know Nick didn't have much of a chance to watch much of the card, but I'll go through a little bit of that. We'll talk a little bit about Khabib, then we'll talk about Diaz versus Masvidal, and then we'll get on out of here. But first, guys, you know how it goes. You know what it is every single week, especially when we talk about UFC. You see the swag that me and Nick got on right now. We look like the orange and blue Rangers, respectively. And you guys know about Nux 3-in-1 refresher spray, guys. As you can tell by our beautiful shirts, we got the Nux logo here. We got our Nux Zeus scented spray here. Some more Nux swag, and I'm gonna try and convince Steve to get Nux Nick to get us some, maybe some underwear, tank tops, hats, any sort of, a car, whatever we can get out of it.
Whole time, I could go for a sleeveless shirt so I can work out in the gym.
Get the gym on, show off these guns that me and Nick are about to put on in the next few months. But guys, you know what it's like when you go to the gym. We were just talking about the gym. It sucks. You walk in, everybody's got on like, some Axe body spray, dude smelling like, the dollar store sort of like toiletry section in the locker room, and we're not about that. It's crazy when it's a hot day. Not even when it's a hot day. When you're just me and you sweat like crazy, that's what you're gonna deal with. Sticky clothes, just nastiness all over, and we know what it's like for dudes down there. It's not very pleasant in the summer months, and not very pleasant working out wise, man. Sometimes I get done working out and I'm like, I may need a second shower just for my downstairs area. So again, guys. Chafing, itching, stinking, all of the above, the nastiness that comes with sweating. People used to use baby powder back in 100 AD, and body spray. We talked about that. That's the new age Band-Aid solution. But we've got the real solution, guys. Here, it's Nux 3-in-1 refresher spray made to replace all the other halfway solutions on the market. Nux is a moisture-absorbing spray that is designed specifically for dudes. And we know what sets dudes apart from other species is the downstairs area, guys, the undercarriage, the balls. I'll just say it. No more sweaty balls. Armpits, clothing, sports pads, athletic equipment, boxing, MMA gloves, helmets, anything that gets nasty during activity, guys, that's what Nux is basically there for. Nux 3-in-1 refresher spray has no aluminum ingredients and is tested to be safe and effective all over the body. It comes scented in the Zeus scent, but it also comes unscented. So if you guys want to find out more, do us a huge favor. Check out the link that we put up over here on top of Nick.
That's right.
It's mynucks.com. Again, that's mynucks, myKnucks.com. Special shout out to Nick, Nux Nick, as we like to call him here, for Nux 3-in-1. Thank you for the shirts, my man. They fit perfectly, and we love them, and I might not ever take it off ever again.
Well, I wanted to tell you, actually, since you are such a sweaty guy, and you're always kind of like, you don't want to close the door and all that stuff. So now you're all set. You not only have the Nux there, but you got a fan now in there. So
Steve takes care of us over here, man. I don't care what anyone says about you, Steve. I don't care what I say about you, what Nick said. No, I'm just kidding. Appreciate that. We got fans. I'm still over here a little bit sweaty. So, that's just, I was born, I think I came out of the womb sweaty. So, but no, again, special shout out to Nux. Thank you guys, and thank you, Nux Nick, for for the swag. We always appreciate your support. Thank you guys so much. And again,
make sure to tune in, or not tune in, but make sure to check out the Facebook group.
Yes,
the community for Nux. So just you can find everything that you need on mynux.com. There's also a pre-order form. No payment information or credit card or anything like that needed. It's just questions asking about what you need and what you would like. So just check out mynux.com and fill out that pre-order form.
It doesn't hurt, guys. Do us a huge favor if you're a fan of the show, if you're a fan of Nick, if you're a fan of mine, please do me a huge favor. Check this out. Check out the page for Nux on Facebook and participate in that for us. Do us a huge solid. And as always, this UFC segment is brought to you by Nux 3-in-1 Refresher Spray. Nick, you were busy making moolah, but I was watching this UFC 242 card. The main event was Khabib versus Poirier. It was in Abu Dhabi, which is in the Middle East, and the card started at 9 a.m. I talked about this last week, Nick. Last week's card started at 5 a.m. I get it. You're going to have cards overseas. It's going to be tough sometimes, but we've got to do better when it comes to start times. Especially, last week was the fight night. I get it. Last week was a free card. This week you paid for. You paid for a pay-per-view that started at 3 p.m. That's crazy to me. I don't think the UFC, I get it. UFC's trying to go global, but let's do better when it comes to this because, if you're watching fights, you want it to be Saturday night, Friday night. That's the huge portion of it that really caught my eye and really I wanted to kind of sort of complain about. But honestly, the card was pretty decent, Nick. We had really good fights. One of my favorite fighters, Bilal Muhammad, ended up winning against, I think it was Satoshi. He fought a lesser-known guy, but ended up getting he didn't actually get a decision. He came back and won via rear naked choke. We had this was mainly Dagestani, Russian, Brazilian, and Japanese fighters on this card. So it was just kind of I was a little bit disappointed because Khabib and Poirier was big, but they didn't put enough names on this card to really attract people to and I get what they tried to do. Mm-hmm. They're in the Middle East. Right. They brought in a bunch of Middle Eastern fighters, brought in a bunch of guys that were very big, like Khabib, Dan. He's Muslim. He's one of the biggest Muslim athletes in the world. Like, Muslims look at this guy like he's our guy. He's the new Ali. Like, that's how crazy, because, he holds it down for Muslims. Right. He said after the fight, Alhamdulillah, it's Arabic for all praise to God. So this dude is like, he's very big in the Muslim community, and he mauled Poirier. So here's what I want to say. He didn't dominate. Mm-hmm. There was time. Poirier caught him with a couple of really nice punches. Mm-hmm. But Khabib is so good at flowing and moving. And even though he caught a hard punch or two, you would never notice it by the way he's moving. Right. And by the way that he approached the fight after that. A lot of guys, when they get hit, they're searching for answers and almost looking around like, shit, what am I going to do next? Right. And this guy was just already in the mode. And then Poirier put him in a guillotine that 98 out of 100 people tap out of. Right. But Khabib is so good. So first of all, Khabib is a combat sambo and judo type of wrestler, like Greco-Roman, almost old school type wrestling. Right. Not a lot of engagement on the ground. He's about balance. He's about weighing on you with his weight. And that's something that Poirier said in the post-fight conference was he wasn't the strongest fighter I've ever fought, but by far the most balanced and toughest guy to get out of his grip because he's just so freaking strong on the ground. Right. So what happened was Poirier put him in a nice guillotine, and that guillotine was in tight for like 20 seconds. And a lot of guys, after that, airflow started, it wasn't 100% in, but it was like 90% in. And a lot of guys, once it's 20 seconds at 90%, they're tapping because they're like, I can't take this. I don't know how I'm going to escape this. And Khabib just stayed calm. He made sure that the legs were he made sure that Poirier didn't have his legs wrapped around to give him leverage on the choke. Right. So it was really hard for him to get his arm around fully. So Khabib just kept moving, and got out, and then just started mauling Poirier on the ground. And My favorite part about the fight by far, Nick, and this is what I want to say to all these Conor McGregor nut huggers.
Because they still exist.
They still exist.
Oh.
Even the dude gets caught on camera sucker punching an old man, and you still got dudes like, yeah, but like, what'd the old man say though? Yes. It's like, how could you, while we're on the Antonio Brown thing, it's like Antonio Brown has a couple of bad weeks, and he's Satan's like cousin.
Yeah.
Conor McGregor for 10 years now has been proving that he's a piece of shit, and they're like, yeah, but like he's fun and he talks cool.
Or I've heard this one.
Yeah.
Oh, Conor McGregor's like the best because he was the first to hold 2 belts.
Oh my god.
That's how I know you don't watch.
Yeah.
Because I can if you want to go in the way back machine.
Yeah, there's some examples of that for sure.
Much better than
certainly
Conor.
not the last guy to do it. DC did it. Henry Cejudo did it. Amanda Nunes did it. Yeah. So yeah, certainly not the last guy to do it. But what I loved about this fight specifically, Nick, and again to the Conor McGregor nut huggers, pay close attention to this post-fight conference or post-fight actually interview in the cage. It was weird because you saw Khabib and Dustin talking, and all of a sudden both of them took their shirts off and exchanged shirts. So Khabib was wearing Dustin's shirt with Dustin's like logo and his shirt,
right.
and Dustin was wearing Khabib's. And after the fight, Khabib does his whole thing, his shtick. He brings up his dad. His dad's this legendary guy, legendary coach, and then brings up Javi, who's AKA Javi, the guy from American Top Team, or no, not American Top Team, AKA I don't know what they're standing for, but one of the best coaches in the league, or in the whole organization, and basically gives them praise, and then immediately gets into how much he respects Dustin, and how Dustin and him spoke before the fight, and though they both knew they were going to fight, and they both knew that it was going to be a tough fight, they respected the shit out of each other,
right?
And they never talked shit to each other. It was still pretty tense. Their stare downs were tense. Their interviews were tense. It was still like, I'm going to beat this guy. No, I'm going to beat him. Da, da, da. But there was respect there.
Right.
And there was never one inkling of this guy is an asshole. This guy is, he's a bully. He's this. No. And Dustin, I gained so much respect for him after this fight. He started crying and essentially saying he's so disappointed in himself. He really thought that today was his day. And you gain so much respect for a guy like that. And he's going to be back. He's only 30 years old, and he's going to be back, and he's going to be, hopefully get another shot at the belt, because he did put up a nice fight against Khabib.
Right.
So, respect to Khabib, because Khabib showed massive respect to Dustin. Dustin showed massive respect to Khabib. And in turn, because Abu Dhabi was 100% behind Khabib. They loved him. But after the fight, they gave a roaring standing ovation to Dustin, because they knew that guy was a warrior. They should respect him, and they should give him the respect that he deserves.
Right.
And as did Khabib. And I want to see the UFC go in that direction. I want to stop seeing these WWE-style manufactured beefs. Even to a certain extent, like this John Jones DC beef is losing a little fizzle to me, Nick. When you've got them sort of, a couple years back, in separate rooms, but at neighboring rooms, and both saying they're going to kill each other. Like, I will kill you with my own hands, and da-da-da. Okay, that might be something. But now DC's taking a step back. He's lost. He's thinking about maybe wrapping up his career. John Jones really hasn't had other than that, even that Santos fight, some people wanted to give Santos that fight, but, John Jones, I think, I know you did. Yeah, no. I don't agree. But again, that's the good thing about the UFC. Like, there was a fight like that on this card where it was Barboza versus Felder. Mm-hmm. And Felder won the fight, but the judges scored it all wrong. And that's the issue that we have right now with the UFC is you got these old dudes who've never put gloves on before fighting or judging fights.
Right.
And that's crazy to me.
Right.
I think somebody scored the fight 32-27 for Felder. I don't know what fight he was watching. It was really close, and it should have never even gotten close to that. So yeah, there's gonna be. But again, back to my point, the whole manufactured beef with John Jones and DC. I want to see guys start to go in the direction that we've seen recently, which is this dude's a fucking monster. I respect the shit out of him, but I'm going to beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
That I'm okay with.
Right.
But don't give me this whole talking about somebody's religion, talking about somebody's mother, talking about somebody's father, talking about somebody's wife, making religious comments, making this. I'm not a fan of that, man.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And that's why I think the fight between Diaz and Masvidal.
Beautiful.
I think that's leading to the direction because I think, we know that the Diaz's both of them, Nick and Nate Diaz, both love to talk mad shit.
Savages.
We know they do.
Yeah.
But I think
they can barely talk, but they love talking.
Right, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think with Nate Diaz,
yeah,
I think he has an utmost respect for Masvidal.
Yeah.
And even we know that
the
Masvidal,
way that they called him out,
you know what I'm
so
saying?
Cool, yeah.
Right. And Masvidal's like, okay, yeah, I basically knocked out Ben Askren in freaking 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So if Nate I know I'm the next man up. So if Nate Diaz wants to fight, yeah, sure. Yeah. So they gonna talk. We know Jorge's gonna talk. We know Nate's gonna talk. But there's gonna be that respect between the two of them to where you could tell with Masvidal and Askren that there was real hate.
Oh, for sure.
Masvidal couldn't stand Askren to save a day in the ring.
No way.
So that there's pure hate. But I'm with you because I thought that the call out when Brock Lesnar came in against DC and then you hyped that up for him to not even sign.
Yeah, to not even the fight wasn't even done. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So I'm with you on that. If you're gonna do the WWE thing, do it in the WWE. If you have natural hate for someone, that's fine. Because we know Brock had natural hate for
Frank Mir.
Yeah. Natural hate for Frank Mir.
Yeah.
We know that. I kind of think that DC and John Jones don't get along. I think it's more that Daniel Cormier doesn't respect John Jones.
Right.
More than I think John Jones doesn't respect Daniel Cormier.
Yeah.
Because I think Cormier, in a sense, Cormier is mad at Jones because Jones has all the tools, but he finds a way to screw it up. Yeah. And a lot of these OGs hate that stuff.
They do. Yeah.
Like, man, you got the size. Like, no one can beat you.
Even mentally,
Right. The only loss that you fight happened to be on the 12-6 to Matt Hamill, and he just couldn't go.
Yeah, and people don't even see that as legitimate. Like, people still see John Jones as an undefeated fighter.
Right.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, it's like, dude, you have all this, and you ruined the first time because you was on a crack addiction. Right. Then you ruined it the second time.
You hit a pregnant lady.
You hit a pregnant lady.
Yeah.
You're doing all this dumbass nonsense, and you should be the best in the world. Yeah. And I think that's why DC gets frustrated with John Jones. Yeah, and I just think John Jones just talks shit back because he's just not going to let nobody.
That's the nature. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I love that you called out the Nate Diaz Masvidal fight because they did agree officially this morning that is going to be set for UFC 244 in Madison Square Garden on November 2nd. I mentioned to you before the show, I'm going to look into maybe trying to go to that one. I don't know how expensive it'll be. Probably be too expensive for me.
Yeah, dude. But tickets at Madison Square Garden.
It's gonna and I was hoping they would make it in December to give me a little bit more time to get the stuff together. But it's going to be the first week of November, which might be tough to swing. But even the way that Diaz called out Masvidal, saying, I'm the baddest motherfucker on the planet, but this dude is a savage, this Masvidal dude, and I want to fight the best people, and I want to fight him. And I loved Masvidal's reaction. It was almost like a kid who is like, I just got, fuck yeah, because he was so pumped up that a dude like Nate Diaz would see him in that light, and I think right away his eyes lit up like, man, I'm respected in this game, I'm a main attraction, and he also knows, quite frankly, I think his eyes were lighting up with dollar signs because he knows after people were still doubting Nate Diaz was a draw.
Right.
After the 3-year layoff, is he going to be the same guy? Does he really draw pay-per-view buys? Does he really draw people to the arena? And then they did that fight in California, and it was like 90% Diaz fans in the thing.
Yeah.
And when he made that call out, the whole arena went nuts. So I think Masvidal, his eyes were on the belt, but when he saw that Covington dominated in such fashion a couple weeks ago, and that was fresher on the minds of UFC fans because the Askren stuff had happened a couple weeks before that. I think he assumed that Usman and Covington were going to get a fight. So he said, well, all right, let's move on to the next one. This Nate Diaz one can be a big one, and it's going to be a big one happening November 2nd at 244. Apparently, they're going to – I don't know if I mentioned this off air or on air, but but Dana wants to make a belt for this fight.
Yeah, the BMF. No,
the BMF belt.
I think we're talking about off air.
Off air. Okay, yeah. So apparently Dana White said that he wants to make a belt specifically for this fight, basically like a baddest motherfucker belt. Seems a little cheesy, seems a little corny, but
it's very Taz, ECW, FTW.
I was gonna say,
belt.
yeah,
dude.
But
stupid.
But I can't wait for that fight. That's gonna be awesome. I'm happy that they had such a quick turnover because a lot of people said Nate Diaz might not fight for a couple years after he fought a couple weeks ago. So I'm really happy to see that, and I'm hoping that the Usman and Covington fight still happens. They just were negotiating for November 2nd, and then when the negotiations for November 2nd fell through, they just went and pulled the trigger on Masvidal and Diaz. So it still could happen. It's probably going to happen in December. So we'll still probably end up seeing that. That's about it, my man, Nick. Is there anything else that you can think of? I feel like we've literally touched on everything today.
I'm not wearing this hat just for show.
Yeah, man. We're getting there. It's September call-up time.
September call-up time.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking to my mother because the other day when I was in the car and I heard that the White Sox had come back against the Indians in one of those games where James McCann hit a 3-run home run. When the Yankees beat, oh my God, who did they just beat recently? God, they got Boston right now. They were playing, oh my God, Texas.
Okay, the Rangers,
they beat Texas, and I was actually finna go to bed because they beat Texas. I got done doing Arch Rivals. I'm like, okay, I'm finna go to bed. I'm tired. I look at the ticker because they were replaying the game because they happened in the afternoon, and the Indians and the White Sox down 8-6. I'm like, hold on, I gotta watch this.
Yeah.
Because the Cleveland Indians, who have for whatever reason no closer, are imploding once again. The White Sox, I really feel, are a solid 2 years away from actually being something. Because Eloy Jimenez almost cleared the bases.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, and that was a beautiful catch by...
that ball was
Mercado. I think his name is Mercado. That was one of the nicer catches I've seen in a while.
Man, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And the thing is, a team when they're rebuilding and they really suck.
Yeah.
And a team where they're rebuilding and you still need more time. It's like moonshine. If you know someone that makes moonshine, you gotta let it sit a couple years before you really want to drink it.
Gotta let it sit.
And that's where I feel the White Sox are at. I feel like the Chicago Cubs have helped out 2 franchises to really come up. They did it with the Yankees because Gleyber Torres has 30-plus home runs this year, and the White Sox got Eloy Jimenez
and Dylan Cease. Yeah, pretty nice.
So I feel the White Sox are kind of in the marinade stage. I think the Yankees more or less knew what they were getting in Gleyber Torres, and they're just reaping the benefits. So I'm really excited to kind of see where the White Sox are in a couple years. I think they're almost there. I feel like they're if you can convince one veteran to just be like,
exactly what I was about to say. Me and Miro had this conversation, and we talked about guys like Anthony Rendon or Garrett Cole. If you can go out and say this year, hey, Garrett Cole, you're an ace-type guy. We've got a couple really nice young pitchers. We could really use you at the top of our rotation, move everyone down one peg, and we look pretty damn good.
Blank check.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Blank
anything you
check.
and that's what me and Miro talked about. We don't have any money committed over the next 2 years.
Exactly.
So you can go out and honestly sign 2 guys if you want to of that caliber. So, but me and Miro were also aligned on the fact that it was gonna be a pretty crucial year this year for the White Sox because specifically the offseason, they have to go out and get like 2 outfielders. You're going to have to go out and get at least 1 more infielder. You're going to have to at least go out and get 2 arms, maybe 1 more for the bullpen. And you have to go out and do it convincingly. I need to go out and spend money. None of this Manny Machado, I'm going to give you a couple incentives here if you hit a certain... No. Whatever Garrett Cole is asking for, give it to him. Give Reinsdorf the check to sign before you even make the deal and just give it to him.
I'm going to say this. This is going to be a bold prediction because I'm glad you brought up Manny Machado.
Yes, sir.
I believe that Manny Machado is going to rue the day that he ever signed in San Diego.
He already is. Are you kidding me? The way that he looks this year, he's kind of like just looking around like, all right, when's the offseason? Like, let's get this over with.
I would not be shocked if the White Sox knocked on the Padres' door and said,
yeah, we'll have to see about that because the problem with that, Nick, is you're going to give up assets. And you could have got him for free last year.
True.
And that's hard. That's hard for a team that's rebuilding right now, as we are, to give up assets for a guy that you basically didn't make a full effort for last year.
Right.
So I would even say, think about it like this: a guy like Chris Bryant, okay.
Ooh.
You know, and you look at Chris Bryant, and the Cubs right now are in a transition. If things don't go well this year, Joe Madden might be looking to go out of town, and Chris Bryant's looking for a new deal, guys. So if the Cubs call and say, give us give us Michael Kopech, give us a really nice arm and a really underrated sort of outfield prospect, and you go out and get Chris Bryant and you extend him and you make him I guess what would be the most expensive third baseman in the league, move Moncada back to second, and you're looking pretty. So there's a couple of guys out there.
Yep.
But the point is, the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
Rick Renteria, I love him. A lot of White Sox fans love him, but the jury's still out on him right now.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of confidence because the team is better this year, but to a certain point, it's like once you're that bad, do you really get credit for just being average after that? You know what I'm saying? Like,
this is what I think. I think where Rick Renteria is going to be in trouble are the Rays.
Oh,
because if you look at what Joe Madden did with the Rays before he left,
right?
You mix in with what Cash is doing with the Rays right now. I would say maybe talent-wise, the Rays and the White Sox are kind of in the same boat.
Yeah.
There's no barn burners in Tampa.
No.
Austin Meadows is a good player.
They always find prospects that get elevated a little bit too soon. Like Meadows was highly touted. He comes in, he's pretty good, but he's not like a superstar.
Right, exactly. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think that if you're Rick Renteria, you're like, damn, we kind of got a little bit more talent than they do. Right. But yet they're in the wild card and we're still rebuilding.
Yeah.
So I think that's what someone like Kenny Williams and Reinsdorf and I can't
Rick Hahn, yeah.
I think they're gonna sit there like, look, we'll give you next year.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be straight up. I think our team is better than Tampa.
Right.
But if we're not at least in the wild card hunt like they are, come next year, then we're going to have to move on.
I will say this. I think me and Miro actually mentioned this too. I think what Rick Hahn, what Kenny Williams and Reinsdorf are going to do is say, don't give Renteria any excuses. Go out and get the players that he wants.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the check for it. We saw the team make incremental steps this year. Now let's give him zero excuses. Here's the players. Here's Anthony Rendon. Here's Garrett Cole. Here's whoever you need. Here's a couple extra pitchers. Here's a couple extra outfielders. Let's see how you can do now.
And let me say this too, because my thing is, especially with the White Sox, Cub fans love to rub in the White Sox fans that nobody's at their games. And I know that the White Sox have had these little promotional deals where you can buy tickets on the date. And
they don't make much money off of that.
You know what I'm saying? But I mean, they're just finding real in a day and age where it's damn near impossible to take your family to a game or whatever
without spending $10,000.
Yeah, the White Sox are like, look, we got a good young team. We're not going to be stupid and charge you $55 for just a nice seat to come to the game. And trust me, sitting up in the high seats are not as bad as you think they are.
No, it's actually pretty dope.
It's actually pretty dope.
I think there's some games where you're like, I actually want to be up there because it's a nice, brisk night. You get a good view of the field sometimes.
And
those 500 levels are cool.
Yeah.
Exactly. Every inch.
And sometimes the realer fans are actually up in the 500.
In the corners,
because all the people down on the 100 levels, either they're rich.
Right.
They somehow got the tickets from another fan.
Yeah.
They got them from StubHub.
Right. Yeah.
They're on their phone. They're not paying attention. Yeah. They don't know jack shit about baseball in the first place.
If you're watching the game, you're up in the 500.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my thing is, Cub fans love to give White Sox fans so much hell about the fans not coming to the games.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you that if the White Sox put out a product.
Oh, yeah. Check the stats next year. They'll be there.
I'm telling you, the White Sox fans are coming out. Yeah. They're not in hiding because, they think our team sucks. They're like, look, we're smart fans. We know we suck. The White Sox know we support them.
Mm-hmm.
But we're just doing what normal any other fans are going to do.
Miro said it best. We're not going to pay for mediocrity.
No.
And I will give people this example before we wrap up.
Yep.
I worked at the White Sox. I think it was 2013 or 2014, the year we were basically in first place for like 90% of the year. The last month of the season, we really dropped. And I will say, attendance was really good for 3 months that year because we were in first place. Teams saw that we were consistent, that we had an exciting team, good pitchers, good young hitters, and they came to the ballpark. So, you know, a lot of this bullshit about the White Sox, you know, that stadium sucks or that location sucks. No, the stadium's actually really nice.
It's really nice.
It's really fan-friendly. Kids love going there. It's awesome on Sundays. I love Sunday family days. And quite frankly, there's nothing around it for it to be dangerous. It's like, it's literally houses. You know, people, there's like this almost like embedded racism that like, you know, you're on the south side, so it's got to be terrible. It's like, yeah, you go down, listen, if you're in any area in Chicago and you go down the wrong direction 5 blocks, you're going to be in trouble. Whether you're on the north side, the south side, the west side, or the east side, okay?
Yeah.
There's areas and pockets like that.
And the funny thing is like, as much as, you know, when you hear north side, you know, it's Wrigley.
Right.
And some of the nicer areas.
Fancy bars.
Bars.
Yeah,
and, you know, there's the dress code is not as strict. Blah, blah, blah. There's still a lot of nonsense that happens up there, so don't get the game twisted. Because if you think about it, on the south side, there's like a little Project Hood over there, but them kids are out there trying to sell beers and make sure that people aren't paying $15 for a beer.
And I'm telling you guys, I went to 160 home games in 2 years, and I never had one dangerous encounter.
Never one time.
I'm a dude who understands danger as good as anybody else out there, and I work there, and I've been in the tougher parts. I've been in the employee lot. I've been in the customer lot. I've been everywhere. I'm telling you, it's not dangerous. Go to White Sox games. Next year, they're going to be good.
Yep. And so remember, James Paxton is still undefeated since the trade deadline. You know, for all Yankees fans that are like, oh my God, we need a starter. James Paxton's still undefeated.
We can forget about Stroman.
Right. For everyone, we can really forget about because Stroman's been up and down with the Mets. For all the fans, it's like, oh my God, has Aroldis Chapman lost a step and blah, blah, blah. Didn't even give up a run the entire month of August, so let's throw that out there.
Yankees are gotta be looking like the favorites right now.
We're getting Severino back soon.
Yeah,
Betances,
that's gonna be.
Betances has stepped up. Yeah. Now I know Herman took it on the chin yesterday. It happens. The Yankees rebounded today.
And Britton has been better, right?
Much better.
Britton has been better.
Yeah,
so that bullpen's filthy. With
and
Betances,
Ottavino is getting that slider back.
Betances, Ottavino, Britton, and Chapman. My God, Yankees are looking sick. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap up here. By the way, guys, iTunes, your boys are in the top 50 in the U.S. on iTunes in the sports and news category, I believe. So please support us on iTunes. Write us a review. Spotify, YouTube. Our website has everything that you need. Thanks for moving that, Steve. Has all the links. Our website, mackandblack.com, has all the links to subscribe. Do us a huge favor. Check us out. Support us. Promote us. I can't even talk anymore. It's 9 p.m. We'll see you next week, guys. Peace.